Everybody, I'm still here from yesterday.
He never left.
Yeah, I never left. No, I did go home, but I am beyond excited because this is technically an assembled episode. This is also, I believe, a landmark episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. Is that right?
This is episode 500.
Yep.
Woo!
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I don't know which one of the. Yeah. Okay.
Yay!
Yes, thank you.
I only know the negative button.
Silence.
Yeah. Yeah. I typically only know the bad buttons. Like I know this one. Yeah. So. But that's my favorite button. If you didn't notice. I think some introductions are in order. Of course, we have the homie Ace here as always.
Oh, what?
Joining us again is the homie Loren. Welcome back.
Oh, I've made it to homie status. I love it.
Some people have been demoted, so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some people have lost their titles.
Well, I don't want to, steal anybody's slot there, but I do like the homie Loren. It's got a ring to it.
It does. It does indeed. You should check out all her stuff over at Coffee and Lore on YouTube. She has all the content over there if you read books, which this episode is about.
Right.
Also, we have the Crochet Fairy herself. We have the homie Kaye here tonight.
Hi.
And I'm the homie Caleb, as you know, because I never left.
We're still at the Shonies.
Yeah, we never left the Shonies.
Never left the show.
I like that she doesn't like Rick and Morty, but she gets all the references.
Oh.
Probably from dating me.
Yeah, that's great and terrible all at the same time.
See, he'll make a reference and I don't understand it. So then he'll go find the clip so that I can just watch that little 5-minute segment without having to watch the rest of the idiocy that is the show.
It's such great idiocracy, though.
I can't do it.
Now, see, I'm a Rick and Morty appreciator.
Yes.
It's
so brilliant.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's even better after a glass of wine, but I mean, even sober, it's okay.
Yeah. So late last year, it was late last year, right? It was. Yeah. So we reviewed White Sand on the podcast.
October. Yep.
Wow, specific. And so White Sand is a Brandon Sanderson graphic novel. It's set in the Cosmere. And my final question to you when we reviewed that was, is this good enough to where you want to read more? And you said yes. So one thing led to another. Here we are. And a challenge was also thrown down at a certain point, I believe, from Loren, that that they would read and come on and review a comic book if you would read a novel and review it. So you have held up your end of the bargain.
Of course.
So you must lay the gauntlet, and we will pick up a comic book.
Yeah, we're gonna do Big Damn Sin City. Where's it at?
Like the biggest book on the show.
Yeah, it's behind you there in the other side.
Other side of you.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not scared of a girthy book. So.
I already read Sandman. Can I just keep going?
No, we're gonna do Flashpoint down there,
Jesus.
which is big chunker.
Yeah, big old chunk. Yeah, no, none of those. I already said no Omnis would be covered. We'll talk about that at the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We can throw some ideas out. But today, there's no need to blue balls you guys anymore.
House of the Dragon comes out in a couple weeks, Lauren.
I am insanely excited about some House of the Dragon.
I haven't seen a trailer or anything.
It's not a couple weeks. It's
like a week and a half.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any promotional material?
Yeah, there's been a little bit.
Okay.
And it premiered already. Everybody walked the red carpet. Oh. But it was just for the cast and stuff. Yeah. And those LA people. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just the first episode. I'm not sure. But it's the only place I get my Martin fix.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Unfortunately.
You're not getting it from Martin.
Because I'm not. Exactly. I'm not getting it from Martin, and I'm not getting from Patrick Rothfuss. So what am I supposed to do?
There's an ongoing joke that Brandon Sanderson, Patrick Rothfuss, and George R. R. Martin have an agreement that they'll shave their beard every time they put out a book.
Yeah, which is why Brandon Sanderson doesn't have a beard, and the other two
And
look
the other
like
two
they're
got the ZZ Top going on.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, I don't think Brandon Sanderson has a beard.
No, because he puts out books.
Yeah,
constantly,
all the time. Yeah, he writes faster than I read, which is that was the case. He's kind of made himself slow down a little bit now.
What are you talking about? Slow down a little bit right now. Didn't he just announce another secret project?
He did just announce another secret project, but it wasn't 4. It was just 1.
And he came out with a kid book, right?
Yeah, he came out with a children's book. It's called like The Most Boring Book in the World. It's like a children's like picture book.
How cool. I haven't seen that one.
Slow down. You were saying?
It's still slower than coming out with 7 books last year.
I'm just saying.
And what's insane is one of those books was like my book of the year last year.
Yeah. Was that Tress?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Tress was so good.
So unbelievable. It might be my favorite book. Like, it's between that one and Warbreaker. They're way at the top.
Yeah. I mean, he writes my favorite book. I mean, as well. Words of Radiance is the easy one on that. So, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, we're actually going to be reviewing Mistborn, The Final Empire here tonight. If you haven't read it, no fear. Here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to just kind of briefly talk about what the book is about and maybe about Mr. Sanderson himself for just a bit. And then we will give a little brief warning before we go into like the full plot details of this book. And then at the end, it'll get a little spicier, and we're going to maybe talk about some wider Cosmere stuff without spoiling anything major for Ace. Because 3 of the 4 of us have read everything in the Cosmere just about, although you 2 haven't read White Sand, right?
No. That's the one thing I haven't read.
Wow.
And I haven't read the Emperor's Soul.
It's
Soul.
so good. It's one of my favorites. Do the graphic audio. It's amazing.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Six of the Dust, but that's a novella. That's
I haven't. Have I read that? Was it in the?
It's in the Arcanum.
Then I did read it because
Yeah.
I think I read that front to back.
Yeah. White Sand is technically in there, but you don't want to read it. Like it's literally they just took the original, not the omnibus, but the original comics and printed them out on regular paper in black and white. It looks awful. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know why they would even do it that way.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I mean, that's like easily the worst possible way to consume that.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys want to hear that White Sand review, that came out, like I said, back in October. So just scroll up in the feed and you'll find it.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy here?
I do. It is right down there next to Ninja
I
Turtles.
see it.
Yeah.
I might have to take a peek at it and look at the
Of
artwork
course.
because, like, that's one of my favorite things about Brandon Sanderson, especially ordering his Dragonsteel copies, is the artwork that he gets done is always stunning.
I have a copy of the omnibus that you can borrow. I have a loaner copy.
Ooh.
So.
Okie dokie.
He does.
Yeah.
Caleb actually got me that one, and he got me Mistborn. He's like he's like he's a drug dealer.
He is. He got me Warbreaker, like a Dragonsteel copy for the first Christmas I ever knew him. And I remember being floored by this incredible gift, but now it kind of makes sense why. He was reeling me in.
Dylan just keeps opening up his Audible with more written Sanderson books just appearing.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff in my library that I haven't listened to on Audible.
Yeah.
And I get the credits, every month.
Right.
And so whenever Dylan gets to a book that he doesn't have, I just stealth drop it into his account.
That's awesome.
And then he's just like, why do I have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter? Which he finally, he's finally caught up. He's actually read completely everything.
Good for him.
So, which is interesting because he was on the show last night and was lamenting not being here today. I was like, we only got 4 spots. We're full.
Yeah, he and Oz is like,
Yeah.
full up. Jerks.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, this is the group, like it's.
This is our assembled group.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sorry, that's just how it is. So Mistborn, released in 2006 by Brandon Sanderson. This book, the interesting thing about it is part of a wider universe known as the Cosmere. I don't want to scare anybody away. It's fine. Just read this. It'll be okay. It's not a gateway drug or anything.
Wait a minute.
So with it coming out in 2006, did it get a lot of hype when it came out? Because I don't remember hearing much about it. And I mean, my ear's usually to the ground for fantasy novels.
So, I'm very glad that you asked that. So his first published work was Elantris, which I think is a great book, but I definitely have issues with it. I think it
They're
drags.
debatable.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
No. Your issues are
Yeah,
debatable.
yeah, of course. I mean, I think it drags in places. But I would cut maybe, I don't know, about 15% of that book out, and I think it would be a better story. But like I said, it was his very first published book.
The face Kaye just made, I love.
Anyway,
This is a heated debate.
we actually over on my channel on Entertainment Evolved, we actually ranked everything in the Cosmere that was out at the same time, but we did it together. And it's on video, and she gives me that face a lot during that.
I do.
Yeah.
So, what you both each gave your separate rankings, or did you have compromise?
Yeah, we had to agree.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but we didn't like 1 through whatever. We had like this is in the A category, B category.
Yeah.
So we kind of a categorized ranking rather than like a numerical 1 through 22.
Yeah, we had to give it like the same grade.
That's bold. Me and Kevin did that a few years ago with the MCU. We almost had a fist fight. It's like never again.
I could see that happening.
She actually wanted to put Oathbringer in the A column, and I was like, Lauren will never forgive me if.
Okay, I have my reasons. Okay, I have my reasons.
I love Dalinar, and I totally like.
My reasons have nothing to do with Dalinar.
Okay.
My reasons are with Kaladin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kaladin.
If we take Kaladin's parts out of that one, and we just look at the way that he deals with his PTSD, yeah, it should be higher up.
I don't know. It was the slowest Cosmere book I think I've ever read. And I have a whole video on it.
That's well.
Yes, you should go find it. I've watched it.
That's well for me. So,
It was not bad. I've never read a Brandon Sanderson book that was bad.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was just definitely a 1,260 page book, and I felt every one of those 1,260 pages.
So it is a little slower paced, but I think it kind of needed to be.
Coming
At the point
off
in the
of,
story where they were, it needed to be slower paced.
I can totally see that, because coming off of Words of Radiance, I could see him needing to really take like a deep dive into some things and slow it down a little bit to give you that slow burn that leads into that rhythm of war. But it's still as I was reading it, and also I think because I loved Words of Radiance so much, that's my favorite Stormlight novel, that it just kind of felt like I was up here. And then I was just like slowly melting down just a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
I mean, to attribute it to something, it's like trying to watch basically anything in the MCU like right after Endgame happened. You know, it's like, okay, you know, even if this is exciting, it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not this.
Yeah.
How big is the quantum level?
No, we don't have to. We don't have to say quantum. Matter of fact, we've now met our threshold for an episode. So Ace is gonna have to edit out any further.
Yeah,
I
it'll just
swear,
be
if
more.
I had heard that one more time, I was gonna throw something at the TV.
What is that one from?
Ant-Man.
Any
Any of the Ant-Man
well,
movies.
the first one it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't
The
as bad as
second
the first
one.
The second one, and then
The third one,
The third
yeah.
one. The third one especially. Okay, if you were playing a drinking game and you had a drink every time they say quantum, you would be drunk in the first 15 minutes.
And dead before the film is over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first Ant-Man.
Well,
it that way.
keep it that way.
Yeah,
You ain't missing
so-
shit.
No.
But to answer your question though,
About 2006. Mistborn. Where are we at when this releases as far as like popularity?
he had published Elantris and Hope of Elantris, and then Mistborn is where he finally started to pick up some steam. And he wrote the entire Mistborn trilogy as one treatment, right? And then went back and did editing and revisions, and I believe released them a year apart, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't until after that he got called in to that Robert Jordan passed away.
Right, to finish Wheel
And
of Time.
he got called in to finish Wheel of Time. And his widow, Robert Jordan's widow, read Mistborn and was like, this is the person that needs to do it. So they offered him the Wheel of Time spot. He came in and wrote the final 3 books for Wheel of Time, and that is when he skyrocketed in popularity.
Got it.
And it was around that time also, shortly after that we got Way of Kings.
So what would that timeline be? Where he's finishing up the Robert B. Jordan stuff, and he's kind of taking off popularity.
That's got to be around like 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Which, I mean, now, I mean, that's just exponentially gone up and up.
Oh, yeah. Now, I mean, he's everywhere. I hear talk about him all the time, and I'm just trying to kind of mentally place, like, when this peak happened in popularity.
And it's interesting, too, because, like, normally that kind of thing doesn't happen until there's, like, a TV show or a movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like George R. R. Martin, obviously. Nobody, I mean, not nobody, but, you know, he was kind of a niche thing until Game of Thrones, and then he's everywhere. Whereas there are no adaptations currently of anything in the Cosmere, and Sanderson kind of already took off. I mean, he holds the Kickstarter record for all time, which is crazy. It's just, hey, do you guys want to read these 4 books? Not even going to tell you what they're about. It's just, I wrote them. Please give me like $300. And then millions of people did it.
Yep. And they were so worth it because, like I said, they're incredible.
Oh, yeah. So this book to me is the gateway to the Cosmere. I think some people have actually proposed starting the Way of Kings, and some people actually now even say that Tress is a good place to start. But I disagree with that immensely because there's at least one spoiler in Tress.
I don't think Tress is the place to start because you have to appreciate Hoyd. Yeah. In order to really love Tress.
Yep.
And totally get like immersed in it. I do prefer Stormlight to Mistborn, but I think it's the person, like which one to start with. You know what I mean?
Way of Kings is
Well, I kind of look at Mistborn as an appetizer.
Yeah. I can totally see that. Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's not a typical text reader, right? If I had come up and placed Way of Kings in front of you, which is 1,100 pages, that's a lot bigger of an investment for you. And I think for a casual reader, here's 1,100 pages is a lot if it's your introduction to somebody. I think if you want to give them something standalone to read, I think that Emperor's Soul is a great thing to give them.
I do love that
book. It's a novella technically, and you can read it without having any prior knowledge of anything. So if not Mistborn, I think Emperor's Soul is a good starting point.
What does Sanderson recommend people start with?
He actually recommends Mistborn.
Okay.
Or also Emperor's Soul. He has said that Tress is an okay starting point as well, but like I said, I disagree with that.
I think that Tress is okay. Maybe if you're not going to go more deeper into the Sanderson swirl. If you're just looking for a standalone Sanderson, you want to be able to say, I read a Brandon Sanderson, everybody says he's amazing, let me read this. Then you might not get a couple things, but you're going to get 99% of it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to read all of his works, I just don't think start with Tress, man.
No, yeah.
You're going to miss so many cool quips and details.
Understand why he said what he said there.
Exactly. Same with
Yumi.
Like, you won't you can read the book and appreciate it, but you're not going to get the coat rack without having read most of the other Cosmere books.
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to watch, like, any of the Avengers movies and you haven't seen anything else, right? There's just so many references and things that you're not going to understand.
Like, technically you could, but...
Right, because it's a complete story, but you're not going to get any of the references.
So, quick sidebar question here. Just something so I can tie things in together with this. So, for example, like with any of, like, say, the X-Men books up there, like, there's a primary writer, sure, but then there are also additional writers who are doing like side stories within those same books and whatnot. And then there's a team of editors as well. And then there's a lead editor that's making sure that everything is cohesive and that there's nothing continuity breaking or rule breaking. Does Sanderson have a team behind them that is checking his work, making sure that, hey, for continuity errors or for anything like that? Because Marvel still fucks it up, like as much as many people as they have.
He has a team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Isaac Stewart is the I think head of content at Dragonsteel, which is Brandon's company. And he is actually responsible for putting together that White Sand omnibus. That was like his baby. That was his project. Brandon kind of like checked behind him, but you know that was like primarily his work. He did just recently bring on Dan Wells, who is a horror writer, and Dan Wells is actually going to be doing some stories in the Cosmere as well. Other than that, I mean, he writes everything, right? But he does have a team. They have an internal like wiki that's like, okay, this happened, and you know, to keep everything straight. Because I'll be honest, like the timeline on this is crazy.
And I don't know how you keep as much of it straight as you do. I don't know about Kaye, but like you'll send me something or tell me something, and I'll have to be like, "Ari, break it down for me for a second, because it's been a minute or whatever."
I'll send her a meme that's like meta as fuck, and it's like it's layered.
And I'll stare at it for a few minutes, and then I'll finally message him and be like, "Okay, give it to me. Like, explain it out for me for just a second, and then let me appreciate it."
Yeah, I'll be like, see, on Rashard, they have to keep their left hand covered, and because of that, then, you know, it's just his whole
It's
thing.
always right hand shapes, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's funny
okay.
because this is a pair of boots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Ace, let me ask you as, before we get into the plot and everything here, as someone who just, like, came into this brand new, what was your thoughts on the setting for this book, for the Final Empire?
Yeah, I thought that the setting was familiar enough so that I could, you know, kind of easily wrap my brain around it, but foreign and unique enough so that it had its own identity and feel. And it was to the point where, because like most of the book takes place in Lutherdale, and you know, it felt kind of like its own entity at times, which is what you want, you know. Yeah, because like the setting, you know, it's kind of like Metropolis is its own character, you know, and so you always want the setting to kind of have its own kind of identities and whatnot. And I think that this did that kind of in spades, which again I always appreciate. And yeah, so I just I really like the setting for this. And again, I thought it was something that was familiar enough for me to kind of get behind, which I think was probably intentional, I'd imagine.
So the planet that this series takes place on, Scadrial, it is the Earth analog in the Cosmere, so it is the closest to Earth out of all the other worlds. It's probably also the chillest place to live.
Jesus.
There's some wonky ones.
Yeah.
The planet doesn't seem like it's actively trying to kill you.
Is there a planet where like the sun screams at you whenever it rises?
There's one where the sun melts the ground every day when it passes over it.
I stick with the screaming sun.
But and I will also note here that he's refused to talk to me about this book until until this.
I finished it like a month ago.
Oh wow!
And and I refused to tell him anything.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear from you guys, like, because Mistborn was both of your introduction to the Cosmere too, right?
Yeah.
Did I read Warbreaker before Mistborn? I feel like...
I don't think so. I wouldn't have. I think I would have advised against it. I think you read Warbreaker right before Way of Kings, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
That's the way that I did it. So more than likely you did it that way too, because it tends to send people on the same path.
Got it. So then, Mistborn would have been my first.
Yeah, actually, I only know of two people that took the path that I took, and that's me and Oz. And I would never recommend that anybody else take that path.
What path did you take?
So I did Mistborn 1, 2, 3, Secret History, and then I read all 3 of the Era 2 Mistborns. And then I jumped over to Way of Kings. And by that point, I feel like you're so invested in Scadrial and Scadrial things that it's very hard to switch gears to Rashar. And that's why I would never recommend. Like, Oz just gave up. So, like, I would never recommend anyone to do that.
The only problem is you have to, like, go back and review it if you're going to go Mistborn Era 1 and then Stormlight and then Mistborn Era 2. Because I ran into the problem with the Lost Metal. We talked about this, which is the last book in Era 2, right?
Yeah. Well, you read 1, 2, and 3, though, but
because
Era
I was
2.
waiting on it to
And then
come
you came
out.
back, yeah.
So I read Mistborn Era 1, then 1 and 2 of Mistborn Era 2, and then Lost Metal wasn't out yet.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
3, yeah.
And then I went to Stormlight and all of the off books and
Yeah.
the secret books. And then I tried to come back to 3, and I should have done like a review or something. Because while I liked Lost Metal, I wasn't as emotionally involved as maybe you guys were.
I
So
was
like
so
some
involved.
of the...
We were devastated.
Right. So, like, I missed a little bit of that devastation, I think, just because I spent so much time being like, okay, where am I at again? Okay, who are these people again? Okay, so that's the only thing with breaking up Era 1 and 2, maybe.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do that either. Like, the path that I send most people on now would be Mistborn, 1, 2, and 3, and then Secret History. And then typically I would send somebody over to Warbreaker, and then Stormlight, and then pretty much just about everything else. And then back to Mistborn for Era 2, and then like Sunlit Man and Yumi, Yumi and Sunlit Man at the very end, obviously, after everything. But
Right. This is going to be more of a complicated question than I intend for it to be, I know.
I know.
But how many books are there in the Cosmere? Okay.
Okay.
Vast. There are many. How many stars are there in the sky? That's probably how many books he plans on writing. 16?
So,
And the newest one comes out in November, December?
I think.
Let's see.
Yeah, the newest one, I'm so hyped.
So you have until December to get all of these books read so that you can read the newest one with us.
So, including
Excellent.
including novellas,
Oh, I didn't really...
there are 60 books in the Cosmere.
60?
You say 60?
Well, okay. Because some of the books are put into, like, the novellas. He clusters them in some books.
Yeah, but if you count the Arcanum as his own book, and then you count like Secret History, which is a standalone, Edge Dancer, Dawn Shard,
Is their own standalones, then you get 60?
You get 60. And he has said that the book that we're waiting to come out, which comes out in December and is going to be 491,000 words.
Jesus.
Is
But you can say pages. I was like, okay, that's kind of a bite size, but that's
no, yeah, and so this is going to be like the midway point of the whole of the Cosmere. Yeah.
good Lord.
Yeah, so the book that comes out in December will be Stormlight 5, and that's like
The end
he's
of
halfway
that
done.
Stormlight saga as well, right?
Yes,
That era
that's
of-
that half of Stormlight, yeah, because it's going to be in 2 volumes.
I'm gonna have to review Rhythm of War before it comes out. I'm gonna have to
I'm gonna do the
I
same
don't
thing.
want to not be 100%.
I'm currently re-listening. I'm listening. I read them the first time on
Yeah.
paper, but now I'm doing the audiobooks.
I might do that because I do own the audiobooks because that's how Baron, my husband, listened to them because he's done all of Stormlight.
Yeah.
And I read them physically the
Yeah,
first time. But it's still too early for me. I'm probably going to read another 60, 70 books between now and December. I need to, like, Thanksgiving break review Rhythm of War.
Yeah, I need to start reading Rhythm of War now, because it took me a year and some change last time because I kept getting like reader's block.
And I had to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it took her a year. Yeah, I'm complaining about you not talking to me about Mistborn for 30 days. It took me a year after she finished Rhythm of War, and she had no one to talk to about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That sucks.
It
Yeah.
was awful. It was torture.
And then I'm sitting there, and there's these crazy, huge moments happening.
Right.
I'm messaging her like, "Oh my God, did you know?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did."
I was there.
I was there when it happened a year ago.
I think the interesting thing about, like, obviously you have Mistborn and Stormlight are the main pillars of the Cosmere. Everything else really kind of informs those. So, like, if you wanted to, right, you could get away with just going through Mistborn and through Stormlight, and I think, like, the overall story of the Cosmere would mostly make sense. Warbreaker is an exception to that. you kind of have to read Warbreaker.
Oh, and it's one of my favorites.
You're like, what the fuck is this sword? Why does it talk? You know, so Warbreaker, I would say, is the only thing that's like, you must read this to get it that's like not part of Stormlight or Mistborn, but it's all so good, you know? Like, there's very few things that are as standalone as White Sand. Yeah. Because White Sand is also pretty old. You know, he wrote
before.
White Sand is probably the oldest thing in the Cosmere timeline.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you know, Chris is still there, and we know that in at least all the other books that she's off-world.
Yeah.
And clearly in White Sand, she hasn't figured out how to get off-world yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys, that's actually Chrysalida's backstory in White Sand.
Yeah, I don't mean to spoil anything for you guys. I know
no. It's I know what it's like kind of about. I just haven't.
I find spoilers comforting.
I am the same way, especially if it's like a book that is giving me anxiety. I am one that will Google, does this person die? And I'll still finish the book, but I need to know now.
I can't either. Someone posted a spoiler for Deadpool and Wolverine, and I got livid.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, see, no, I want to know. That's why
I wish somebody would have given me
that website. I was so happy.
Yeah, did the dog die? There's a website called Does the Dog Die? But it's not really spoilery. It's more for trigger warnings.
Gotcha.
So if you want to know if like this specific thing is in this movie or book or whatever, you can.
I wish there was a website called Do They Torture Rabbits and Hamsters, and I maybe wouldn't have gone and seen Guardians 3.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that today. My movie of the year for 2022 or what? Wait, did it come out last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like between Wonka and that for me. So good. Anyway, I guess we can get into it here. So we're actually gonna start talking about the book and the characters and everything. So if you haven't read this, I would say it's definitely high fantasy. It's definitely something that you can sink your teeth into, and it will be just familiar enough to where you're not lost. But we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes of it now, and start talking about some things.
Meat and taters.
Yeah, meat and taters.
Potat.
So the basis for Mistborn is, in how Brandon kind of describes it as well, is it's what if the bad guys won, right? So you have this Lord Ruler who has been running the final empire for 1,000 years. And you really don't know much more than that at the beginning of the book. That kind of all unravels itself as the book goes on. But that's the premise for it. And they also have a very interesting kind of planet here. So kind of the unique thing about Scadrial is that ash rains from the sky pretty much all the time, to the point that they have to have people dedicated to sweeping up all the ash in the city to keep the city clean.
It's like sweeping a dirt floor, you know.
That is the job I do not want to have.
Yeah, and they have a very rigid caste system in Luthadel, which is the main city where most of the story takes place. So they have the ruling nobility class, and then they have the Ska, which are like the lower class. And they are pretty much, second-class citizens in every form of the word. They can be owned as property. You can treat them however you want. It's a pretty bleak situation for them. Asa, what did you kind of think about, like, as this book opens? Because the book opens with Kelsier, who we'll get into in a minute. And he's got, he is sort of monologuing about this caste system.
Yeah. What are my thoughts about the caste system, or?
Yeah, and kind of the opening with Kelsier. Like, kind of how this gets introduced to you. Because this is how the reader first comes into contact with it.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting opening, especially in terms of being from Kelsier's POV. because my first kind of exposure to this character was obviously my opinions and views of him have evolved as the story went on. But right here in the beginning, it seemed like he's just this morally upright guy who wants to overthrow the evil overlord so that the poor and unfortunate and the enslaved can have their freedom and have lives, and it's very commendable. And he himself, well, we may not find that out at this point, but even he himself was once amongst them, and now he's able to walk amongst these mysterious mists, and these other scholars are really freaking out about that. And then there's so many other rumors about him and this, that, and the third. And by that I mean Brandon did a great job of really introducing questions that have you wondering, okay, where's this going here, and what's up with this mystery? Because there's mysteries at that point about the world, and honestly, even by the end of the book, clearly there's still more mysteries. Like, okay, like where's this ash coming from? What's the purpose of it? How did this? And then there's also the mystery of Kelsier himself. Like, okay, this guy has there's a lot going on here. And then even by the end of that prologue, not that my viewpoints of him changed, but they more broadened, because I'm like, all right, I get freeing people, but man, you murdered a whole lot of people there. not that I necessarily like disapprove, but like this, okay, that's interesting. And so yeah, I thought it was speaking of the prologue as a whole, I really dug it because it kind of showed me the situation of like the Ska people, and it also showed me like, okay, this guy might be a bit of an extremist and a zealot, but he knows how to get results. Curious to see how this goes and how far he can take this.
I agree completely. I think that Brandon did an outstanding job with that whole prologue, really establishing Kelsier as an anti-hero kind of character. Like, he's out there in a almost Robin Hood-esque kind of character. He's doing whatever he has to do in order to establish what he wants to. It shows you that there are no extremes he's not going to go to.
Right. And that's an interesting thing that you mentioned there about him being an anti-hero, because I agree. Like, as much as he does that can certainly be perceived as good, one thing that I always have as a set aside for my villains is that to them the ends always justify them, or the ends justify the means. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, Killmonger from Black Panther, he's not a villain because of what he wants to do. What he wants to do is very noble. He wants, justice for Black people. He wants, those who were colonizers and abusers to be overthrown. But the way he wants to do it, mass genocide is kind of a problem. and so with Kelsier, you have both of those concepts, right? Someone who wants to do something very good and very noble and upstanding, and something that clearly no one else in this world has ever really, at least like for this time frame seemingly, has never really considered, or they've tried before, but they've been quickly and easily kicked down. But he's really going for something huge here. But on the other hand, the means that he's going about to accomplish this, and even his friends at times kind of question them, but I mean, so it's one of those things where it's like, it's an interesting conundrum, and where does this leave Kelsier like as a person on the moral scale? But I think that's one of the interesting things about him.
Yeah, you could say that.
You can say all that.
You can say all that. Yeah, it's definitely more of a Magneto thing than a Professor X thing. It's very evident. What Ace is referring to here in the prologue is, at the beginning of this, you see he comes across a manor of the nobility, and he's got a bunch of Ska in prison there, and Kelsier proceeds to free them all, and then kills all of the nobles, and it's kind of like a after he freed them type deal.
Right. Yeah. He also razes the place to the ground, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So. It's like, yeah.
I really love the way that Brandon Sanderson also like sprinkles breadcrumbs in this one. He starts talking about the survivor of the pits, but he doesn't necessarily tell you it's Kelsier at first, etc. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's sprinkling those breadcrumbs, making you say, "Well, who is this person? Well, what is this? What are the pits of the sun?" Like he's really grabbing you.
Yeah, and it turns out, that the pits are super important. Mm-hmm. But in this book, you don't ever even actually find out what they really are.
No, he's just kind of telling you about them without telling you what they are, who's there, anything.
Yeah. You get a little bit, but that's about it.
I think in this book, you just get, like, this is where the Lord Ruler's getting his ATM.
Right, and that, this happened with Kelsier and whatever.
Yeah. You don't really get much more than that. So, since we're already talking about Kelsier, I think we should talk about the main cast here. I think you already kind of broke Kelsier down pretty well. Part of the reason why I always recommend this book for people to start with, the thing about it is that I think that the main character of this book, Vin, is so easy to fall in love with as a character. I think that she is very relatable, and that it's very easy to root for her from the first page that she's on. Because we start out with Vin here, and she's kind of like a street urchin, right? Like she's part of a thieves crew. And it's, and it's kind of evident that they don't really value her very much, but the leader kind of keeps her around because she's lucky. Mm-hmm. And that's all we really know about her at the very beginning, but I think that kind of switching the perspective from Kelsier to Vin and kind of getting inside of her head and seeing where she's at, I think that... it's just very easy to get into her as a character.
Is interesting, and again, I'm sure purposely done, but in a lot of ways, Vin and Kelsier are like polar opposites of one another. And a lot of ways, they're just complete opposites, right?
Yeah, he's very jaded, and she's kind of innocent in a way. Mm-hmm. I mean, she knows the world is hard.
Yeah. But
she isn't as jaded as Kelsier.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's even also on even on more surface level things, right? Like Kelsier, he comes across as super, think about it, even in the writing of the book, as many times as you see Kelsier smiles, you see Ben frowns in the book, So even on things like that, they're just so opposed in so many ways, but yet there's kind of a really cool bond between those two characters that develops over the course of the book. And then they kind of meet each other at a halfway point in terms of like their differences.
Yeah, she's very reserved. He's very charismatic. Mm-hmm. They are polar opposites in a lot of ways. And where their bond is at, though, is they both have a shit ton of trauma. And, of course, they're both Mistborn. And I think that those two things are kind of what allow them to have that really kind of almost like father-daughter type bond that they end up having.
So do we want to explain what a Mistborn is?
We can do that before we circle back around.
I was born in the mist.
Yeah, molded by it. The major form...
just misted.
Yeah, right. There's 3 magic systems on Scadrial. Very interestingly, you see all 3 of them in this book. But the main one that you find out about or that you learn about in this book is allomancy, which is essentially a form of magic that utilizes different metals to be able to do different things. I'm going to start over here. And, Kaye, what did you think about this, like, the first time you read the book about the allomancy?
My first thought on it was, what? Don't eat that bead. It's a bad idea. You're not supposed to eat beads. And then I was like, well, okay, I guess you can eat that bead.
Beats the alternative. Gotta get it way up there, Morty.
That's true.
Yeah, I really like the concept because it gave each type of metal has its own magical ability, basically. And so I really liked that when they said, oh, this person needs 10, or this person needs, copper. Isn't copper one?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to know instantly what their abilities are. You might not know to the level of which they have power, but you would know that they have something.
Right.
And then with a Mistborn, they got them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the magic system, there are 8 known metals at this point in time. And then there's also, in addition to the 8 that they know of, there is gold.
Put this upside down. Like, this is not right.
There's gold, and then
Did I do that? I did that.
you put the dust cover on backwards, Jen. That was a very pleasant sound.
It was. It's one of my favorites. Is
Little-
like that dust cover slide.
Little ASMR
That's
for
right.
you guys there. So at this point in time, we know about the 8 elementic metals, but also gold and atium. And if you can only burn one metal, then you're called a misting. But there are people who can burn all of them. It's extremely rare. And if you can do that, then you are called a Mistborn, which is what the title, of course, is referencing.
And you had to snap in order to become a Mistborn.
Yeah. Essentially, like, you need, like, a traumatic event, either physically, mentally, or both, to essentially unlock your latent potential as a Mistborn.
And I think one of the really cool things about the magic system in here, your allomancy, your metallurgy, all of that, is you can take it at surface level in the books and still understand it and be like, okay, he eats the metal, he's gonna da-da-da-da-da. But there is such deep dives that you can also take that, like, their websites, like, I think Coppermind is one, and things like that, where you can literally, I don't recommend going to Coppermind until you are fully caught up with the Cosmere.
Yeah, if you haven't read everything, don't go to the Coppermind.
But once you are fully read through the Cosmere, Coppermind is a really great resource for deep diving into this magic system. I mean, you can find out little details and just, it's like a spiral. You can really just spend hours reading up on this magic system. So it's very in-depth for those who want to go there. But it is still easily understandable for those who just want to remain on the surface level. Okay, he eats the metal, he can do the thing. Like, it doesn't... I don't love magic systems in fantasy novels that you have to deep dive to fully understand.
Right.
Which is one of Brandon's things.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an author, he has like a set of rules that he has to follow for magic systems.
Yep.
I can't remember exactly how it goes, but do you know?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but he's very good at the magic systems.
Yeah, he has a set of rules that he follows for himself, and if it doesn't, like, if his idea can't fit into that set of rules, then he doesn't have that magic system.
Which makes sense because it does make it more available to understand to all people. You know what I mean? Not everybody wants to do that deep dive. They should still be able to read the book and appreciate it. But for those hardcores, that deep dive is available.
Yeah, I think I remember reading, I think this was on Reddit, someone who was at Lost Metal, which is like way down the line, in the most recent Mistborn book. They were like, yeah, I was doing my AP chemistry homework, and I closed my chem book and started reading Lost Metal, and as it turns out, I should have just kept it open. Because they go very sciencey later on in this as things progress. But, in this book, I think it was very wise for them to just start with the 8 basic metals, which are iron, steel, tin, pewter, zinc, brass, copper, and bronze. And then throughout the book, they introduce gold, atium, and aluminum, which aluminum is
aluminium.
I was just fixing to say aluminium.
Aluminium.
It depends on where you are, how you say it.
Aluminum is very important in the wider Cosmere as a whole. Like, you will find its applications on other worlds, and it does the same thing everywhere. So,
Okay.
that one is super important everywhere throughout the entire Cosmere. What about you, Ace? What did you think about this? Was it kind of? I know that you're used to like different superhero power sets. Obviously, that's nothing new to you. So, did you grab a hold of this pretty quickly?
Yeah. The only thing that took me a while to grasp was like, okay, damn it, what does what again?
Yeah.
And so I had to, but Sanderson does a pretty damn good job, I think, of utilizing each metal, and in the process of you reading the characters use these metals, getting more of an explanation as to what it does and how it works. So yeah, by the time that you see the characters use these metals after a certain number of times, like, okay, I think I'm getting it now.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I still wouldn't be able to use any of them, even if I could, but I'm getting the hang of it.
All you gotta do is just eat you a chunk of like zinc and just see,
And
how it goes. I'll be honest with you, like I have to look them up most of the time. Like there's some that I know, like I know steel pushing. I know pewter because of pewter arm.
Right. I just think 10 makes you Daredevil.
Yeah.
You
10,
can still see.
Yeah, 10 makes you Daredevil. That's great, actually.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to look at it.
It is.
10 makes you Daredevil.
And that's kind of how I thought of it too when I read this. 10 is one that I will always remember. And of course, ATM is very hard to forget. Right.
Yeah, my thing was remembering what medals went with the nicknames that they have for the people that do the abilities.
Right.
So I was always like, okay, hold on, what are these again?
Yeah, because I remember steel as coin shot, and then like pewter arm is pretty. Like that one's got the word in it.
Yeah, well, it said the
antennae. Yeah.
But then rioters
is that zinc? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be like, okay, well, which one makes people riot?
Yeah, copper is smoker, and I don't remember that shit at all. I'm reading that off of the wiki. Like, yeah, because like, I mean, even later on, like with like iron, like Sanderson kind of dropped the nicknames when the era switch happens. Like nobody says Lurcher in the second.
Well,
set.
I think the reason that they had nicknames in the first part was because they were very much under a rule.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of the characters were not supposed to, the ones that we mainly follow, they're not supposed to have these abilities.
Yeah.
And if they are found out, then they could be killed.
One of two things happens.
Yeah.
Either they kill you or the Inquisitors recruit you. And I think I'd rather just get killed.
And so I think it was kind of like a code, but it eventually became such a well-known code that they probably needed to change it again. But then when you get to the second era, it's 300 years later.
Yeah.
They don't need that code anymore. And so over time it would drop.
And that's an important distinction, is that in this caste system, the only people who are supposed to have allomantic abilities are the nobility. So the nobility pretty much doesn't have any rules on them, except don't mate with the ska. That's like their only rule. And also like don't fuck with the Lord Ruler's ATM. That's like the other the other rule.
That's the common sense rule.
Yeah. And so if a ska shows up with allomantic abilities, then
when they've been fucking around,
someone has literally fucked around and found out, and the Steel Inquisitors investigate that shit very thoroughly, as it turns out.
Aren't they supposed to, after they have sexy time, supposed to kill the girl?
That's one reason why Killshare decided to raise that entire place in the prologue to the ground.
Oh, because the rule isn't that you can't fuck them.
Yeah, you just gotta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can do that. You're just not supposed to let them have babies.
I get it, right? Like, that's not a good thing to do. Not endorsing it, but I can't think of a better way to stay kid free.
Oh my!
I can't. I can think of multiple ways. Yeah.
You and I are just a different minds, man. I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, this plan has fallen through several times.
Yeah, I was gonna say this plan is not airtight at all. Literally. This plan has had lots of problems, considering that our main cast here is like a whole crew of people with abilities.
Right.
Hey, I mean, coincidences happen, dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slipped right through.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, God.
I will also, since we're talking about the magic systems, before we go back to the characters, we also have Furakemi. Mm-hmm. And we don't find out a ton about Furakemi in this book, but we know that it is a metallic art that is used by Sazed and the other terrorist people. And it uses the same metals that Allomancy uses, but it is a bit different in the way that it works. So when it comes to Furakemi, you can do things basically, but you have to store the thing. So it's not like you just get this ability. You have to actually actively give up the thing, and then you can bring it back later. For example, gold is health, right? So if you are a Furakemist for gold, then essentially you can you can make yourself sick essentially for a certain amount of time, and then store that up, and then later on, if you need to like heal or like, cure poison or whatever, you can tap into that store. I can't remember what the weight one is. Is it iron?
I really can't remember. I just know the
Wax has it.
Yeah, Wax has it. Wayne has the gold.
Yeah.
They're from the second era.
But there's like ones that let you store your weight. So, you can be lighter for a certain amount of time, and then you can suddenly become heavier. Whatever use that is.
You can store your memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one is actually super fucking useful.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also, so each one of the metals will allow you to store a thing and then come back and draw from said thing later on. And then the third one is hemalurgy. And in this particular book, you don't really find out very much about hemalurgy for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, I don't know shit about that one.
Yeah, the reason that you don't really hear anything about it in this first book is that it is insanely locked down by the Lord Ruler and the Steel Inquisitors.
I was going to say, I think the only people using it is the Steel Inquisitors in this first book, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Without going too far into it yet.
That we know of in the first
at this point, yeah, it's the Steel Inquisitors, yeah. But the hemalurgy is the reason why they have the giant, like, railroad spikes through their eyes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They are creepy AF.
Yeah.
And some of them have, like, 11, 12 different spikes.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're a bunch of real swell guys, I thought.
Super awesome.
Yeah. It was misunderstood,
I thought they were awesome, like, villains, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, as, like, the main guys, like, kind of goon squad.
Yeah, and they take a lot of... There's a lot of glee in their work when they're performing it that you see. Like, oh, so that... you guys aren't just, mindless, soulless beings. You guys
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Happy to go to work every day.
It is so hard for all three of us to not say things. Like,
I
it's
think
so...
I'm doing a really good job.
We're all doing really well, but it just got hard for me. Like, I was doing okay until right now.
I'm proud of me. I should get... I need a gold star.
You do.
Sticker.
You can have a head pat.
I'm going to find a way to ask the right questions to get one of you to break.
I mean,
tremendous.
I will totally tell you everything you want to know.
Yeah, no,
We don't have to twist any arms here.
Yeah. I'm an open book. Let's go.
Who lives, who dies, who tells the story.
But, interestingly enough, there is a theme to the 3 books in the trilogy. Allomancy is the major theme of the magic system in the first book. And then the second one focuses considerably more on fear-alchemy. And then it's very easy to say that a huge part of the third book is I just lost the hemalurgy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's where that one really, really gets explained. Because you kind of had the idea of how it worked.
Yeah.
But in the third one, they really dive into the
intricacies
of how it works.
and you're like, oh man, that all makes so much sense.
And it's way more fucked up than I thought it was.
Yeah, it is immensely more fucked up. Yeah. So going back to the cast here, now that we kind of talked about the magic systems a little bit, kind of I would say arguably the third kind of main character in the book here is Ellen Venture.
He's my favorite character in this book
I
series.
love him. He's such a cutie patootie.
I love me a noble child who wants to go
Read
against
books at the party.
Yes, and go against the norm and be intelligent and have new ideas and that's my favorite
I knew
character.
I was gonna love him when we first meet him and he is like reading a book at a party.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
100%.
what you reading?
That would have been me.
Yeah. Kelser should have followed his instincts and killed them.
Oh my god.
Not an Ellen Venture fan?
I'm joking. He's okay.
I will say, I didn't fall in love with him in this book. Like, obviously, I knew I was going to like him when she shows him he's reading the book at the party, right? Like, that's a thing I would do. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I fell in love with him as a character until probably the second book.
I honestly don't know in the timeline because I read them all 3 at the same, like back to back. I didn't really start to like I liked him and I thought he was amazing, but I didn't really fully root entirely for him until he got, I cannot think of her name, but the terrorist woman who basically became his
the one that says it is
Tyndall.
Tyndall, yeah.
Yeah.
Is she in this book?
She's in the second one.
Oh. You already started it?
Hey.
Yeah. When she starts helping him to be,
I didn't know you had it.
That's when I really start to like him.
I was sold on Elon immediately.
Well, I liked him, but
Right.
I didn't think that he had a direction. He knew all the ways that he knew what he wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
But he had not a very clear idea on how to get there. But then when she became his counsel, he suddenly had a plan. And while he did kind of fight her on that a little bit at times, she was right.
Hold up, wait a minute. Let's rewind back to this. How far into Well of Ascension are you, Ace?
Glaze over.
I think I'm 42 chapters deep.
Oh, wow.
So you're a good chunk of Well of Ascension in.
Motherfucker.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
He really hasn't said anything to me. I didn't even know he had the book until right now.
That's fabulous.
I will say Well of Ascension
It's my least favorite Cosmere
is my
book.
least favorite Cosmere book.
Yeah.
Nah,
I don't hate it, but
Yeah.
you're not going to catch me casually sitting back reading it.
I was talked into saying that it was my least favorite.
Oh, understood.
it is very much setting up I feel like the
third book.
first majority of that second book is setting up
Yeah.
the third book.
I really enjoyed it, actually.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Because you probably like Zane, don't you?
Zane is wonderful.
Hey.
This has been great, everyone.
Good night.
But he's like,
You're not like a Zane. you're not like a Zane Vin shipper though, right?
No.
Oh, okay,
No.
because I can't deal with that shit.
No.
That's the thing. There are hardcore Zane Vin shippers.
Oh yeah, Zane is one of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. He should be the only person in that fan club though.
But no, just going back to Ellen, I really didn't like. He was fine in Final Empire, but I really didn't start to like him until Will of Ascension.
Yeah.
And see, some of my favorite scenes in Mistborn were the scenes with Vin going to these noble balls and things for the first time, and having to it gave me really good glimpses into this caste system and how other people acted.
It was Mean Girls.
Yeah, I
It was Mean Girls.
but I really enjoyed the Vin intro into society portions of this book. So I think that's kind of why Ellen became my favorite character in this book.
We haven't got to him yet, but I guess we can now. Sazed is my favorite, and I love
I
all
know this.
all of the. As a matter of fact, most days I think he's my favorite Cosmere character, not just Mistborn. But I will say I love the scenes where he's trying to prep Vin, and he's like kind of like taking her under his wing because Kelsier's like, "Yo, Sazed, I ain't got the patience for this shit. You're gonna have to take care of this."
I always kind of looked at him as like, shit, it's gone now. Never mind, I'll say it in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this another character you're comparing him to?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Alfred!
I was kind of going for Haymitch, but Alfred's probably a better.
Yeah, Alfred is better.
Yeah.
Hamish is not.
Well, when you first get introduced to him, he's kind of like that.
That's.
But then later on, you're like, oh, okay. I don't want to rabbit hole this, but they're doing a movie about his.
I was gonna say
games.
they're releasing the book. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got a text message that there's a book being released about Haymitch's games.
And a movie. The movie's already.
I didn't even know about the movie.
The movie's set for 2026. Yeah.
I still haven't watched Songbird, and I need to.
It's the best one. It's the best movie, I feel like.
I need to watch it.
It's either that or Catching Fire, but I liked Songbird and Snakes, I think, the most.
Is this Hunger Games you're talking about?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, we veered.
Sorry.
He said Hamish,
I am
opened up a whole
Yeah.
can of worms.
I'm so far behind on my movie watching.
Sazed. So we get introduced to Sazed, who's a terroristman, and I can't remember how much you actually find out about the terrorist culture in this, but like Furakimi, the other magic system we were talking about, is limited to the terrorist people. It is a attribute of their kind of race or culture. And Sazed has the copper mines, which is he uses it to store his like information. So he has this incredibly vast wealth of information, and he specializes in religion and mythology and all sorts of other things. And so that's how he's able to just kind of, pull a story out of nowhere. And I actually really love that he does this with both Vin and Kelsier throughout the series, where he's like trying to find a religion for them. And I actually loved all of those. Every time he would, come up with one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this character. He's might be my second. I never really thought about like where I would place all of them, but he's probably number 2 for me. He comes across as like the silent wise man who can also beat the shit out of you if need be. And I mean, he really comes in clutch a lot of times.
Yeah.
Really doesn't.
Yeah. There is a particular. You're probably not there yet, but the best part of Well of Ascension is him doing that. He wrecks some shit in Well. I loved him in this book as just kind of that, like, I think you put it perfectly, kind of this Alfred character that's gonna kind of take Vin under her wing and teach her everything that she's got to know about, the nobility and how to blend into that society and learn, what she needs to learn. Who do you guys want to go to next?
Let's talk about Breeze. He's my second favorite character.
Okay, so I guess I have there's Vin and Elend, and then there's Kelsier and Sazin. I called him Sazed when I read the book, so I guess it just depends on how you pronounce it.
As the man himself has said, he does not harp on people's pronunciation of names because there are multiple planets in the Cosmere. And people would say them differently on different worlds. So there really is no wrong way to say their names.
Yeah, Breeze.
Oh, I bet there is.
Yeah.
That there like Kelsier.
Breeze was my favorite of the crew until the third book, and then it became Spook.
I love Spook, but Breeze...
He be wasn't.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
But Breeze... I think I remember texting you, and I think even the first time I read it through, I told Caleb Breeze was my favorite character.
Yep.
Elend became my favorite character as a whole in the series, but as I was reading it through for the first time, Breeze was my favorite character. I loved his power as a soother. I thought that was such a cool power, soothing the emotions of everybody around you. Come on.
But in a way that would make it seem natural, so that nobody is caught off.
All of a sudden I'm not angry.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very skilled at the
subtlety of it. And I love a subtle power. It's one thing to be cool and be out there killing everybody and pew pew pew, but to have the power that's the power of soothing, it's just dope. I'm sorry.
Well, and one of the things that we understand about soothers and rioters in this is that the skill that comes along with that is in people knowing that you're doing it. So, if you're a rioter, for instance, yeah, I mean, you could walk in a room and just be you're pissed, and, instantly, piss somebody off. But the ability to use it, where the skill and the repetition and the practice and all comes in, is you being able to riot somebody without them knowing. And it's the same way with the soothing. And Breeze, according to the book, is probably the best alive at it at this point in time.
Yeah, I could never trust him.
No.
No. That's one of the guy that keeps you calm.
Mm-hmm.
He's essentially a bard. I mean...
Yeah.
He's not the guy you should trust.
And Breeze has a very important part to play in the future, too. So it's a very cool thing with him. Speaking of, Spook, also, in this book, I don't think anybody is, in love with Spook as a character. He's just kind of annoying as shit.
And I didn't love, even this early on, I could see people maybe trying to ship him with Vin. And I didn't love that. So, I kind of just was Spook. You know what I mean? But
I think he shipped him with Vin a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it was apparent. It was made apparent. And I was just no.
I will say I think he's one of the characters, side characters, background characters, has the most growth over the 3 books.
Easily.
For sure.
It's kind of insane the amount of growth that he has.
And Spook is a 10-eye, and he has daredevil powers, essentially. He can heighten his senses. And I don't know if... it is alluded to in this book that he is going pretty heavy in his use of 10. And do they talk about savants in the first book? Or is that later?
I think it's later.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So yeah, that's coming. Probably one of my favorite characters, for sure, is Marsh.
I loved Marsh in book 1.
I fucking love Marsh, period. Very much love him. He is Kelsier's brother, who is, honestly, he's kind of like a Professor X to Kelsier's Magneto a bit.
Yeah.
The two of them do not get along at all. But Marsh is much more like Marsh is of the same mindset of like, hey, we need to free these people from this tyranny, but he's not like we should kill all the nobles, and he's also like very against Kelsier's like way of going about.
And he calls Kelsier on his shit, and I don't feel like there's a lot of people that do that. Kelsier's got a lot of yes men around him.
Yeah. I would say that Ham and Marsh are kind of that for him.
Yeah. As far as the crew goes, he actually isn't on here, I don't think, but Doc's on.
Oh, how did I forget Docs?
I didn't see him on here.
Yeah, I know I
don't see him on
did.
here
No, I
either.
straight up forgot Docs. Yeah.
So then take it away.
Yeah.
What do you love about dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that he, first of all, he's just a dude, right?
Yeah. You're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you?
But, like, while he's a ride or die for Kelsier, but at the same time, he's going to be the guy that tries to reel him in a little bit, you know? Like, for example, if you go to fucking Six Flags for the first time, right? And there's the guy who's like, man, I want to ride this, and then we're going to ride that twice, and then we're going to do this. And then Doc's going to be the guy who's like, well, let's do this one first, right? And then we'll eat some lunch, and then we can kind of like he brings the plans down, or he explains them in a way that makes them more reasonable or understandable. And I think that's really why they get along so well. Why Kelsier knows he needs him around.
Yeah. I love Docs. I can't believe I forgot him.
Shame.
It's because he's just a dude. So he doesn't have powers.
Good dude.
He's just a dude. Interesting, for the Mistborn screenplay, both Hammond and Docs are going to be gender swapped.
Oh.
So I am ready for Muscle Mommy Hammond.
So this is an official thing. This is happening.
Yeah, Brandon wrote the screenplay already.
Oh.
Somebody's just got to make it. And I have a feeling that we're going to get some news on that at Dragonsteel.
I'm so excited.
I have an inkling, because Brandon keeps hinting at it, that his talks with the Hollywood people have been ongoing. So they kind of don't know what to do with him, because they're like, we'll give you all this money. He's like, cool, I want creative control of all the projects, though. And they're like,
But the money.
Okay, well, we'll give you even more money. Yeah. And he's like, I have money.
I don't have.
Yeah.
You fucking up my shit.
He's like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I just went to war with Amazon and won. So like, I don't need your money. I just need, I need control over these things.
He did beat Amazon.
Yeah, he did. He beat Amazon. Sanderson won Amazon 0.
Jeez.
Yeah, he basically stopped putting his books on Audible until Amazon started paying their authors better.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they flew like the president of like Amazon's publishing arm and his team out to Brandon's offices and gave them a presentation on their new pricing structure for authors.
Yeah,
Damn.
he was making money, but then he found out how much everybody else makes, and he was like, I'm not cool with this.
Yeah.
And so he took his books off.
Damn.
And they were like, we're sorry.
Yeah.
We'll do better for everyone else.
Yeah, we
Here's
promise.
how.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ham is their kind of the tank. He's the Peter arm in the group.
Who loves to discuss philosophy.
He does.
I
He does.
love him.
He does. Yeah. I like Ham a lot. And then we have Clubs as well. I think that's the last member, and that he's a smoker, so he can produce what's called a copper cloud, and that essentially allows you to hide certain things like the use of allomancy. And we find out that Vin is actually capable of piercing those clouds, which is not something that even a Mistborn should be able to do. And that's about all you find out in this book about why she can do that. And then, last but not least, I want to talk about Orsur. Orsur is what's called a Kandra. And the Conjurer are a very unique thing to this world. They basically are a species that the Lord Ruler created when he used the power at the Well of Ascension, which basically made him a god temporarily. One of the things he did with that ability is he created the Conjurer. They are a type of creature that can turn into just about anything by consuming their body. So they can eat your bones and your flesh, and they can turn into you.
It's very comforting when you think about it.
Yeah. But they work off of a very rigid and very strict contract system under the Lord Ruler. And Orsur is impersonating Lord Renault, who is basically the Vin's kind of meal ticket to all these balls and everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so he has a contract with Kelsier to do this impersonation. Ace, what was your thought about Orsur here? Or like the concept of a conjurer?
Yeah, so, we don't really get much of anything about Lord Renew or Orsur until like the end, right?
Yeah.
Right, you spend a good amount of the book trying to figure out who this guy is.
Yeah, it's like, man, he's very committed to the bit, But no, so learning more about like the Conjurer, or at least the little bit we get in book 1, they're kind of creepy as shit. I'm not gonna lie, but in terms of like who he is or like what I make of him, I really don't have much of an opinion on him until book 2. Other than he's very much honor bound, he signs a contract, he's gonna fulfill it. You get that much from book 1, from this creature. Also, I don't know if Sanderson just started playing the hell out of Final Fantasy VII when he wrote Orsur. I mean, just read 13 all day for the second book.
It kind of, yeah. Where you with the hound and
yeah. But no, he's a very fascinating character. But like the whole concept of the Conjurer, I'm like, how many of these things are out there?
There's quite a few. You're going to see a lot more Conjurer in the third book. Yeah.
I had an X-File button.
There could be one in here.
Oh, shit. Oh, that means that one of us is dead.
Yeah. At least when the Skrull impersonate you,
right?
You can still be alive.
Yeah. The plan that Kelsier had in place with Orsur just goes to show like the lengths that Kelsier was willing to go to.
Commitment.
Yeah. So, all right, so here's my plan, dog. And after I basically commit suicide, right? Spoiler alert. I want you to come and eat me.
Yeah, I mean, so
I'm
it's
cool with this. Okay.
Yeah. Like, got my permission.
The main plot beat of the book here is like Kelsier's like, hey, we're gonna overthrow the Lord Ruler. We are going to destroy his empire, take his source of wealth, and use that source of wealth to build a better empire on top of it. And, Kelsier's even got a plan for, like, what we do after we were in the revolution, which most revolutionaries don't have, right?
Mm-hmm. I always picture, like, his, like his plan being, like, step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. Step 3, overthrow, the Lord Ruler. Step 4, party.
But we find out that Kelsier, through his travels and studies and whatnot, has discovered the 11th metal, and this is kind of his secret kind of weapon that he's going to use. And he has Vin kind of invade and spy on the nobility. They start up a bunch of feuds between the noble houses. They train an army in secret. They even come up with various ways to get the Colossus out of the city, which is the other thing that the Lord Ruler created, which are these really fucking insanely gross kind of like ogre type creatures. He has a very intricate plan, but at some point when you're trying to fuck with what they as far as they know, God, right, is he's going to show up at some point. And at that point, Kelsier had a plan A and a plan B. And the plan A was for him to burn the 11th metal and use it to defeat the Lord Ruler. The plan B was for Orsur to eat him and basically start a cult of the survivor, basically. That he was even unkillable by the Lord Ruler himself.
I have a really cool Koloss sticker. Did you give that to me?
Koloss Head Munching Day?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Brandon's birthday every year is Koloss Head Munching Day.
What the
It's a national holiday.
I couldn't remember if it was like an order, because I've got a variety of stickers. If it was an order from Dragonsteel and they stuck it in there, or if it came from you.
Yeah. Because you bought a Dragonsteel copy of Tress, right?
Yeah, and I got a really cool Shalon
Pin?
sticker with her, like, decorating a Christmas tree.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
a
fucking cool.
BA sticker.
I'm sure Pattern is in it. Yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
love Pattern.
Yeah.
Lies.
Because I ordered Tress for Christmas, so it was around then, so that's why that's the theme of my sticker.
So, what do you guys think about the, like, kind of the main plot here, like Kelsier's plan?
It became very obvious to me very early that this shit wasn't gonna fucking go to plan. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and like after the first time they tried to go in and take out the Lord Ruler, like that first big fight scene, it was where I started to really have doubts as to whether or not this was gonna be successful, because this entity just seemed, how do you fight this? So I didn't know how they were going to succeed, but I had a very distinct feeling that Kelsier's plan was not going to go how Kelsier planned it. Now, turns out he may have planned it this way, you know what I mean? But it wasn't it wasn't going well for him, you know what I mean?
I think he had multiple layers to the plan.
There's
Yeah,
always
like an
another
onion.
secret.
There's a plan for everyone. Then there's the real plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much the way that this goes, right? Is that, he's training this army and everything and giving everybody kind of this idea like, oh, we have another Mistborn, we're going to do all of this. But he knows at the end of the day, like, they really don't have a chance in a fight with the Lord Ruler.
Right.
They pretty much just have to get it to the point where, like, the Ska will overthrow them, and the Lord Ruler has plans upon plans as well, because, for instance, he has soothers that are out there all the time keeping these oppressed people's emotions like dumbed down so that they don't revolt. So there's just so many layers where they have to kind of counter the Lord Ruler's like layers upon layers of protection for himself and for his empire. What did you make of all that, Ace?
Yeah, I've often wondered, like, I am going to answer your question with this, by the way, but I do often wonder, like, okay, the Lord Ruler has been Lord Rulering for a long time now.
Like about 1,000 years.
Yeah, and it's like, when do you get bored? Like, this is, like, for the first 150, 200 years, I was having a ball. Now it's about 1,000 years. It's time to switch it up, So I don't know, but
we could all answer that question for you, but we won't.
All right, fine. Then I'll try another way. Kaye, you okay with it?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay.
Good. I'm doing a good job.
You are. You're doing a great job. Because that was very daunting right there.
That's why I just looked down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at these words on this page right here. I'm going to reread them.
But no, so speaking of like Kelsior's plan, it was lofty, I also thought, Lauren, like when I saw it. But I was like, Kelsior, he's such a fast slit talker. And I mean, he's not just a fast talker. He goes like he gets shit done. He finds a way. But I just kept thinking that this is such a lofty plan he has in place here, and it requires everything to work perfectly, and you have to gather all these men and then transport them and then arm them and feed them and train them without getting caught. And and then you have to, and then on top of that, even what he's not telling the crew completely about, his secret weapon to best the Lord Ruler, he has to count on that working, which we know how that goes. Mm-hmm. And so there's just so many different elements that have to fall in place for things to work properly. And then also, like, with this isn't a heist, but it's similar enough to a heist where that you have a crew of people that you need to get together to formulate a plan and then to properly execute it.
Alamancy 11.
That's the new name of the book.
I mean, it is a heist.
It is.
But with any kind of heist, you have to trust that, all right, is everyone going to hold true to this thing? Because if one person folds, then this whole thing goes under. So there's that aspect of it as well.
I could never be a member of a heist team because I'm telling you right now, I don't trust people well enough. I'm going to be looking at everybody under the corner of my eye. I'm going to be like, she's got bags under her eyes. She didn't sleep last night. Yep. Somebody was interrogating her. Kill her.
Yeah. Especially like Kelsier, right? Mm-hmm. Who's like, the nobles, gotta kill them all. That's it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are no good ones. That's it.
As Eland, I'd be like, this motherfucker right here.
Well, he was.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kelsier was like, why you dating that boy?
Well, I think about, like, what's his name? Eden?
Yeah.
And, he's kind of a perfect example. Like, he shouldn't have been on the team.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Eden was like they were like, well, we could have had you in the core group, but you just didn't really make the cut for that. So we're gonna have you train the army.
And that goes to complete shit.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah,
I think they get about half of them killed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just like, well, that went well.
I saw something coming with him just because at first he's so standoffish and even a little bit off put by the plan, but he's come this far and he's kind of half foot in, half foot out, but he decides to commit. And then maybe about halfway throughout the book, Eden's like, he's all for it. It's like, yeah, man, I want to go and lead the army. He's super gung-ho. And I'm like, either this guy is like a traitor in disguise or he's about to do something stupid. He did something stupid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That absolutely would have been a red flag for me to kill him.
Yeah.
Y'all would not want to be on a heist team with me.
Yeah, I really don't now that you mention it.
I
don't even want to do an escape room with you.
Well, they're making me laugh. Yeah. They're distracting me, I can tell.
Yeah. I may not come out of that escape room.
My coworkers keep trying to get us to do one. Like, we're a pretty small team, 7 people.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, one of us is British, like from England, and I can barely understand him. His accent is from Liverpool, and it is very thick. So I just don't see me and him working well together in an escape room. I love the man, but I don't see us doing well in an escape room.
Especially because you're going to kill him.
That part.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on here and talk shit about my coworkers. Let me not.
Yeah, let's not.
That's what this is for. Get the shit off.
I do want to talk about one of the most, I think, incredible things about this book, which is this is where we're introduced to Sanderson and his epigraphs. This man loves an epigraph. And if you're not familiar with the term, that's at the beginning of each chapter, we get a little blip of something. And we find out, kind of as this book progresses, that these are entries from Alindi's logbook. And in the story, Alindi is like the fabled, quote-unquote, hero of ages that everybody is in their religion is pretty much made to assume that Alindi became the Lord Ruler. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But throughout the readings in the logbook, like as the story goes along, you kind of hear of their journey to the Well of Ascension, and their willingness to defeat the deepness, which is basically, we come to find out, was just the mist, right? And You will find out more kind of about that later. But the reveal at the end of this book, through the epigraphs as you're going through it and everything, that Alendi never made it to the Well of Ascension. It was actually Rashek, who was a Terrace packman that was traveling with them. Vin gains this knowledge that Rashek is actually the Lord Ruler. And I thought this was such an incredible reveal. And your thing about a twist that I believe in wholeheartedly is like, if it's a great twist, when you get the twist, you can look back at the book or movie or whatever and go, that was right there the whole time.
And see the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. And
I recently read a book where there was no breadcrumbs.
I hate that.
I was fucking pissed.
Oh, just they just dropped something on you.
Yeah,
and,
they just dropped it, and I was like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And then I went to the reviews, and other people were saying the same thing, and I was like, okay, at least I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I hate that. And there are a lot of thriller writers.
This was a thriller.
That feel like they can just do that with an ending. You know what I mean?
I felt like they just put a name in a hat, and they were like, that's it.
All of a sudden, she has a mysterious twin sister.
Oh,
and this person's never been even crumbed, never been talked about, but she's going to pop up at hour 11.
Yeah.
And that's your killer.
I need the breadcrumbs, but I don't want to notice that they're there first.
Yeah, exactly. It is such an art to write well. It really freaking is.
Right.
I almost feel like you can't do it alone. You have to have that team that's like going back and checking behind you and encouraging you, and I don't know. It's an art when it's done right.
yeah.
This was a great twist. What a twist!
What the twist?
This is a great reveal, though. I love this for those same reasons. It's like, son of a bitch. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But in the moment of reading the book, you just think it. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, he said 1,000 years, so surely this guy's changed a bunch.
Yeah.
And then
You're like, but it really doesn't seem like this guy.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. So I thought that was tremendous, and yeah, I wish that more writers knew how to execute that kind of twist, because, like, you know, what Kaye and Loren were just mentioning, it really sounds like writers who are not confident in their abilities to tell a twist well, so they hide all the information so no one can possibly guess the twist, and that's just not the same thing.
Yeah, one of the Patricia Briggs, Jim Butcher, and select Stephen King books.
There's a new Patricia Briggs book coming out, right?
In 12 days.
I keep getting it advertised to me.
I'm so excited because that book was supposed to come out 1.5 years ago.
You have to bring it with you to Dragon Con and get it signed.
Oh.
Yeah, I love Patricia Briggs.
Is she coming to Dragon Con?
Oh, yeah.
She always does.
She's there like every year, yeah.
Yeah, but one of her books, it was one of the books in the Mercedes Thompson series that had the biggest twist that I have read and then been like, oh my gosh, it was there the whole time. And I just, like, I literally put the book down and walked away for a little bit and just had to, like, collect my thoughts because it was so in your face, but also so not in your face. And it was so cleverly done. And I really appreciated that. And I've only experienced that with Brandon Sanderson the second time. So that was really exciting to have that happen because it's rare that I don't pick up on the clues.
Yeah, this one, I never suspected this at all. Like, I was kind of the same place you were at. Like, it was like, okay, this Alendi dude sounds really fucking, like, maybe conflicted, but very heroic and noble and everything.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck did he get to become this guy? Well, he isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this thing must have just, like, really changed him.
Right. I
Yeah.
was thinking, like, man,
Changed
the
his
Will of
personality.
Ascension or whatever just really fucked him up.
Yeah, absolute power, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, maybe I live in space.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I love that twist, and through this, Vin is able to discern the Lord Ruler's kind of secret that he's kept hidden for all these years, is that he's actually a Terraceman, and so he is therefore a Furochemist. And since he was at the Well of Ascension, he also is an Allomancer. He was able to make himself a Mistborn as well. So the Lord Ruler is actually just what we come to know later as a compounder. And so he basically can use both Furochemy and Allomancy. And when you do that, the result is exponential, right? So if you use, say, pewter to store your strength and then burn that pewter as an allomantic metal, the effect is it's a multiplication instead of an addition. So, it'll be like 10 times as powerful.
Right.
Which is how he's able to fucking backhand Kelsier into fucking oblivion.
Yeah.
Because when Kelsier fights him, it's pretty much, if that's what you want to call it.
When did they fight?
That's in the end of, about 80% through the first
That's
book.
not a fight.
That's not a fight.
It's very one-sided.
He had an awesome fight with those Inquisitors.
With those Inquisitors.
And honestly, when he's 2v1 and them Inquisitors, actually, I think it's 3v1. He kills one of them early, and then he's fighting two.
Right.
You're like, fuck, man. Mm-hmm. He 3v1 in these Inquisitors? You're like, okay,
Fucking hell, dog. All right.
Which brings me to another Sanderson point, is that I love the way that he writes multi-layered fight scenes.
Oh my god.
I could actually picture it in my head, especially when you also add in the element of height, because Kelsier flies around.
Yeah, he is the, honestly, he has a lot of great skills, but I think when it comes to magical fighting, I think he is by far, the best at it. Because, when I read one of his fight scenes, I might as well be watching it on screen.
Right. Yeah, he makes it very digestible for, his fight scenes, which is clearly something that's really important for a book like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could have been and they did a bunch of Mistborn shit. And Kelsier won.
I know it probably helped you, too, with you being used to having, the graphic novel
Right.
you know, where they don't have to do all of that.
Right. Well, that's kind of the funny thing about comic books, because in those cases, the writer still has to write out exactly what he wants, but only the artist gets to read that, and he has to
interpret it. Yeah. So we find out that this 11th medal that Kelsier, thought was going to be the winning ticket, and it kind of, in a way, was. Using the knowledge from the logbook, Vin is able to burn the metal and actually see that he is Reshek and see this alternate version of him. And Vin actually, I think, comes in on him or is able to see him as an old man. Yep. He's and we find that he's actually using ATM to live forever is essentially what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's using ATM to store youth.
Right.
And that's kind of his whole secret. He's not really a god at all. He's just an incredibly powerful version of both a Furochemist and an Allomancer, but he's both. And so he can use those tricks to essentially stay alive forever.
What do y'all think he stores his ATM?
We don't know. We're not sure. That's a great question.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I look directly at Kaye.
Yeah.
She wouldn't look at
No,
me.
I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, we're not sure where it is.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any ideas, Lauren?
Oh, I have ideas.
I could give you the coordinates.
Right, exactly. Longitude and latitude. Wait, is it longitude?
Yeah.
Latitude.
Longitude.
I said longitude and latitude.
Yeah. It should be that. It should be latitude. Using her newfound knowledge, Vin is able to separate him from his metal mines, which very quickly fucks him up. Mm-hmm. And then, honestly, if you want to get down to it, the Lord Ruler didn't really fight Vin. She pretty much wrecks his shit here.
Yeah, once that happens.
Yeah. And an interesting thing happens when she does that is she actually absorbs a bit of the mist during that fight, which is an interesting little bit of foreshadowing there. So.
Shadow.
Yeah, no, were you guys shocked by this? Like, did you, when you were reading this, did you think that like the Lord Ruler was going to be like the boss of the whole trilogy, or did you think that they would overthrow him?
I was actually surprised with Kelsier and with him. I thought they were going to be. Well, you said there were 3 books, and I was expecting those to be like the main struggle for over the 3 books. And then when they both kicked the bucket, I was like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, really, with Kelsier more than anything, I was like, he's not dead. No way is the literal main male character of this series dead in book 1. That's not happening.
I actually remember now that you say that, I remember super vividly now when you were reading Well of Ascension, because you were like, it's hard for me to love this because, like, I thought that Kelsier was going to be here for everything.
Exactly. I thought he was just going to pop up.
Yeah.
And I read 2 more books waiting for Kelsier to pop up.
They don't have Dragon Balls in this universe?
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting that, you know, who you could consider to be, you could consider him to be the main protagonist. If you want to look at it that way.
It was very Ned Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember, because I read the Game of Thrones books before the show. I can vividly remember where I was when I read Ned Stark's death scene and being like, I think I started reading them when there was like 3 books. But I knew that there was going to be a lot more. And I
mean...
Where's that button? Wrong! I thought that there was gonna be a lot more, and being like, the fuck, like, that's the dude.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? And I kind of love it when books do that, where you have like a quiet actual main protagonist in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the same vein, something about Kelsier's death I could not let go of. I was like, no, for real though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I know that this is all good and everything. You know, we got a kingdom to run, but where's the Kelsier? Where he at though?
So for me, I remember reading the incredible fight with the Still Inquisitors out in public, just kind of an on the spur thing, and they had to do this. And it was incredible, and I'm thinking, I was nervous for Kelsier during that fight, because I remember how he and Ven fared, you know, early in the book.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't great, but here, you know, Kelsier, he's giving him the business, you know. But then, you know, like they say, like there's this ominous feeling that just sweeps over everyone, and then like the carriage pulls up, the Cadillac on 22s pulls up.
It very much, you know, now that you mention it, it's kind of like when Bastion pulls up to the X Mansion or whatever in 97.
Right.
It's like, we know you could have just flew here or teleported here or whatever, but no, you decided to roll up in the car all slow.
Right.
For dramatic effect.
Right. And the Rolls Royce of all cars.
Yeah.
Like, hops out. But that's how it was with the Lord Ruler. You know, he steps out, and I'm thinking, all right, Kelsier, he's gonna like make like a speedy escape until he can survey the, you know, the ground, and you know, and then they're gonna regroup and come up with a plan, and they're gonna do, but then I'm like, oh no, so Kelsier, he's standing there, and then I'm like, oh, Lord Ruler's gonna take him captive, and then they're gonna bust him out, and then Kelsier gets backhanded to fucking next Wednesday. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. He's going to beat him up first in public, make an example out of him, then he's going to drag him away. And then Lord Ruler's like, I don't get paid by the hour. And Kraft's like, what was it, a spear, I think?
Yeah.
And then just skewers Kelsier. And I was like, it's just like a Hollywood skewer where like it's to the left, you know. And
that's what I kept thinking. I kept asking him. I was like, no, but for real, is he good? And like, do I keep reading?
And then he shows up after that.
You're right.
And you're like, oh,
hey,
I don't know how he lived through that, but he's always another secret.
Right.
And then as you find out that his remains have been consumed.
Yeah.
Nom, nom, nom.
They've been nommed on.
One thing that we haven't talked about is kind of how aluminum gets used here is Vin actually is taken captive by the Steel Inquisitors because they're trying to find out who her parents are, right? Because they want to know who's doing the diddly in the nobility. And so she's taken prisoner by the Inquisitors, and we actually find out that Marsh has been recruited by them and has joined their ranks.
Yeah, because I thought he got dead too.
Yeah. And him and Sazed end up saving her, basically. But when the Inquisitors capture her, they like hand her a medal and make her eat it, and they say burn that. And as she does, all her metal reserves are instantly gone.
Yeah.
And we essentially find out here that aluminum basically cancels out allomantic powers.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Rude much?
And aluminum is actually the kind of anti-magic of the Cosmere. Like, it works like that way everywhere.
That makes sense because you shouldn't put it in the microwave.
That's correct.
Put one Arby's roast beef in the microwave. I double dare ya.
I'm trying to figure out if they have a microwave. They have them on Canticle. No.
Is that the
No, it's the Yumi planet. Not Canticle. What's the Yumi planet?
See, I know Roshar. I don't know the names of the
but
planets.
that's the one I was gonna say. Whatever the name of the planet is they have it at the soup place.
How impressed would you be if I just bust out the name?
I'd be like, now he's done more reading than he is telling you.
Tress is on Lumar. Sunlit Man is on Canticle. I can't remember the Yumi planet. So, yeah.
Does it start with an N?
Nintendo.
You know what? We can find out real quickly.
We do have like pocket computers.
Google. Is everyone?
Yes, everyone just goes
Who's
for it.
Who's gonna find it first?
Yeah, it's. I'm almost there. It's on Kamashi. Is the name of that planet. Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed it in a million years.
Now you're thinking of Nalthus. That's the Warbreaker planet.
Yes, I love Nalthus.
Man, fuck that. I don't want to live there either. They.
You really want to live there like nowish?
Maybe I don't
Not
know.
then.
We don't know. Not then. They do fucking. They deal in souls like as currency there. Like I'm good.
But it's real cool. Like it's for the plot.
It's cool if you're rich.
but do they deal in absolutes?
Yes.
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 Yes,
They absolutely do.
So, okay, look. There's just something really fun about being able to change your hair color.
I know!
At will. And then also just being able to be like, I would like my hair to be down to my butt today. Oh, no, tomorrow I'm not even going to brush it. I'm just going to chop it off and grow it back within 2 seconds. There's something really exciting about that.
There is.
So the magic system. Colors play a very heavy part into it.
Warbreaker is so good. Like, I say Tress is my favorite, but that's just because it's been a minute since I read Warbreaker.
Warbreaker is lovely. It's a lovely story. It's a very much a love story.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have 2 Cosmere Knots that really love Warbreaker. They're both at this table.
Yeah.
Not that I know anybody that dislikes it either. Yeah. It's not in my top 5, but I do like it. But it's not in my top 5.
It's funny. I think my top 2 aren't even like in Stormlight or Mistborn, and that's Tress and Warbreaker.
Yeah.
Tress is the most beautiful book that I've seen. Like physical copy that you can hold and
it's
look at.
pirates in the Cosmere. Like it's just so fucking good.
You can swear on here.
The story is good.
Yeah, I do
and the physical book is just, it's beautiful.
I have talked about cum gutters on this podcast.
Yeah, a lot, actually.
Me and Dylan stopped in our tracks on Broad Street because he said cum gutters, and we just stopped. Like, I am a smut queen over here. I love me some smut, and I had never heard this term. I looked over at Dylan, and he, as like, okay, Dylan really loves anime. He ain't heard this term either. So I need to know what is happening here because we don't know this.
And I'm just talking about this, and they both stop, and I'm like, yeah. And then anyway, and I'm like, what? You guys see a cool booth or something? You want to buy something at? Like,
no, I'm gonna need you to back up.
Yeah.
What's a cum gutter?
Yeah, you know, rewind. And for those, if you're listening and didn't listen to the other episodes.
Right.
The cum gutters are the V, you know, the V.
It's usually referred to as the V.
Right, because they don't want to say cum gutters.
Or the
obliques.
Yeah.
Chiseled
Yes.
obliques.
Yeah.
Cum
Cum
gutters.
gutters
Cum
is
gutters.
like that's
I would have never called it a cum gutter.
So you can say whatever you
Teach
want
his own.
on here. Yeah.
But my favorite word is semen demon. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
that's lovely.
yeah, to call somebody a semen demon,
Yeah. So
good time.
you know. Anyway, Mistborn.
Speaking of semen demon,
I mean,
Vince's dad. You know?
yeah. I don't think that we ever actually get any info on her dad. Like,
I don't think
it's
we
just
do
not
either.
important, right? Like, I think they like casually like say who it was at some point, but
I mean, he's here. He gets killed, you know. And
yeah, in the overall scheme of like everything, you know, it's not really that important.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I thought that Reen was going to be more of a thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That was
Well-
the next thing out of my mouth.
Reen is only a thing as it relates to Vin, and so you will get some more of that in the third book.
But not as much as I thought.
Same.
No.
I thought he was going to be a way more important character.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I was like, because I just knew that Reen was going to show up at any moment, and then they were like, "Hey, he's dead." I'm like, oh shit, okay, he dead. Sorry, Reen.
Yeah, so we get, into this book, we get Vin, she separates the Lord Ruler from his metal mines. She's able to defeat him, and, we killed God. We did it. We did the thing. We did it. And then...
You got 2 more books.
yeah, and you got 2 more books, and the Lord Ruler kind of lets out... this was, to me, when I read it the first time, I was like, for a book that is not tropey at all, this was kind of tropey, right? Where he's kind of like, you have no idea what you've unleashed by killing me or whatever. And then he just kind of... I always picture him doing the death scene from Dark Knight Rises or whatever, where she's just... But...
Oh my
like, the worst death scene ever. And that's not because of Brandon's writing. That's just because I'm obsessed with that death scene. It's so fucking terrible.
It's so terribly good, though.
It's just terrible.
It's just
I
terrible.
love the Dark Knight movies.
Oh,
They're
me
my-
too. But when Talia gets killed in the third one, they must have only had one take of that scene because
That was the take?
yeah, it's god awful. It's like I've seen literally better deaths in middle school plays. Like it's so bad because she's literally just like that's the death.
I would have to go back and watch it again because I'm trying to picture
It's
it.
so bad.
Oh, it is. I gave her a little bit of slack because she was pregnant during that scene. Apparently very pregnant during that scene.
Yeah.
But even still.
Yeah, it's like we gave you a modifier. It's still awful.
Yeah.
So,
But I didn't think that what the Lord Ruler said here was that tropey, right? Because normally they say something like lamenting the loss of their lives and power, like oh, I'll get you, or they say something to spite the protagonist. This was more foreboding than that, I feel.
yeah, this definitely made you want to read the next book. You're like, there's something worse than you?
Right.
What?
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, this is not a spoiler, but like the Lord Ruler is probably not in the top 20. Like when Cosmere, well, no.
Oh yeah, Cosmere baddies.
No, he's not even. He doesn't even register. Like
Wow.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, we can't really say
I'm not
any
gonna
of them.
say anything.
But as far as
Hey,
like,
Kaye, is there something on my face? Now, what were you saying again?
like, I mean,
So there's some shit that goes down. Okay.
yeah, there's
Sorry.
there's at least like 100 people that I would not want to fight. Like the Lord Ruler would be in front of them. Like,
Jeez.
yeah. So.
Oh, and then there's also the collected everyone just hates him asshole and fuck Moash.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's
there's
always
that.
fuck Moash.
He's the worst. I
He's
have
the
a shirt
worst.
that says
He's
it
the
on
worst.
there.
He's not necessarily powerful. He's just a
We
good
just
guy.
hate it. Just what's the guy from the boys?
Soldier Boy?
No, like he's just a regular fucking dude that we all hate. The kid's stepdad.
Oh, yeah, the stepdad, whatever that guy's name was. It wasn't Todd, was it?
It's
Was
Todd. It is Todd. Fucking Todd.
Fucking Todd.
Yeah. Fuck Moash.
Yeah.
It's Todd.
Yeah, that is Todd. Yeah, fucking Todd. God damn it.
Yeah.
So let's. I guess at this point, I want to kind of go around and get like overall thoughts on the whole book, and then we'll do some. We'll kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, especially now that I know you've got some fucking Well of Ascension under your belt. So what's your overall thoughts on the book, Ace?
Yeah, this was my first time in a long time reading a book. And this was I think a great place to start back reading books.
That was me too, because I actually didn't really read anything for a couple of years before this kind of got me back into reading. So.
Yeah. I really dug the story, and I dug the world, and I like the fact that there were so many different characters with their own different flavors and personalities. I really enjoyed seeing like the growth of a lot of the characters. You know, obviously Vin is the one who has the most growth. Kelsier is a lot of it is kind of off screen, off page. And again, I can't even fish for anything, so I'm just gonna say this: I do wish we had gotten more of the Lord Ruler. He was certainly a very credible threat, but I viewed him more as an obstacle than as like a true antagonist. You know, just in the sense that like superhero homies rule number 6, make sure that your villains are, well fleshed out. And it's not like he was a bad villain. He was just, you don't even get to really hear him himself speak until the book is almost done. And I got a feeling that, they're probably going to do some things where I get to learn more about him.
You'd be correct.
Okay. I like the fact that they answer a lot of questions, but also give you or present more questions as well. I mean, that's a very, very skilled technique to keep me reading, keep me coming back.
It clearly worked.
Yeah, I think that the way that Sanderson writes his fight scenes are really good. I think that the way he describes his roles are really good. And again, the way that we see certain characters grow, I think is just really impressive. I had a blast with this book.
Lauren, what you got?
I loved this book. It was my first Sanderson book. Is Mistborn my absolute favorite thing that Brandon Sanderson has written? No. I'm a Stormlight girl. I love the Stormlight saga. But I can appreciate Mistborn as an entry into the Cosmere, for sure. I feel like it can be consumed, like I kind of talked about earlier, very surface level. Or it can be dived into deeper. And I really enjoyed it. I had not read a whole lot of heavy magic system fantasy before I got into Brandon Sanderson. I read a lot of fantasy, but I've read all of Tolkien. I've read all of Martin. I've read Patrick Rothfuss, and his Name of the Wind stuff. This was the most in-depth magic system I think I've ever read.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. at the end of this book keep waiting for the Kelsier kind of boot drop. I didn't want to believe that this kind of main character was gone, but I really enjoyed it. Like, it's definitely high up on my Brandon Sanderson ranking.
For sure. I think a lot of the other books that you mentioned have what we would call soft magic systems, right? Like, they never go in and like explain it like these are the hard rules of it. And there's benefits. I like both types. Like, there's benefits to a soft magic system where the rules aren't like right out there. But I do love like being able to nerd the fuck out about like a hard magic system where I can just like, okay, this does this, so what are the possibilities if you could do this and that, and so
like you said, the guy with the AP chemistry book, he was like,
Yeah.
I should have just left it open.
Oh, shit,
like,
I
I've
just
never
left it
read
open.
anything that in depth before with magic.
Yeah. Kaye, what you got?
Oh, I loved it.
She's-
I love Mistborn. It was definitely the gateway. I will always be a Stormlight girl too. Stormlight gives me more of something that I resonate with personally. So I guess that's why I'm more Stormlight, because Kaladin is in Stormlight. If Kaladin was over here, I'd probably be a Mistborn all the way. But yeah, I really like it. I like the second era, I think, better though.
If Kaladin were over here, they'd be like, "Why are you 8 feet tall?"
That's fair.
Uh,
I think he's 7 foot.
Yeah, something like that. All Rasharians are tall as
tall.
fuck because their gravity is lesser on Rashar.
I feel like I'm a character development person. I've always said I'm a book 2 person. Like, I love book 1s, but I'm generally a book 2 girl.
Not in this case.
Not in this Mistborn case at all. But in most series, I'm a book 2 girl because I need character development
See,
and
that
growth.
makes sense.
And there's more words in Stormlight.
Yeah.
There's more pages.
Yeah.
They're on average, over 1,000 pages long in
Yeah.
Stormlight. So you have more
growth, more-
character growth, more detail into these characters. I feel like I know these characters. There's really not a character in Stormlight where I feel like the same as he feels about Lord Ruler, where I didn't get enough grit and chew to it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what makes me more of a Stormlight girl.
That makes
But
sense.
because of they're shorter, they're more condensed, they can be read more surface level. Mistborn is way more for the masses, I feel like.
That's fair. That's fair. Because, yeah, a lot of people with the Stormlight book, Way of Kings.
You said odds quit, right?
Yeah, basically.
He can't. The first 600 pages is basically world building.
Yes.
Oh.
Things
and-
happen, but it's a lot of world building, and
I
it took me 3 times to
loved
latch on.
I could not put Way of Kings down.
They both were just like,
was
"We don't know what
hooked.
you're talking about." This is it.
I was so fucking obsessed when I read that first book. Oh my god.
Well, see, this isn't really. I don't think it's a spoiler, but y'all tell me if it is.
It'll be too late then.
I'll just have to.
You just have
This
to
is
do
your
it.
warning. If it's a spoiler, oh well. I'm sorry.
I'll mute my mic. No, go.
There was like at the very beginning of the book, you see this little leaf and it's going around and it's floating and it's not doing things that other leaves are doing, and you're like, why? Why is it doing that? Oh my gosh, is it a fairy? And then then I have to find out what this fairy is, and then it fucking talks.
Yep. And
The leaf?
Yeah.
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 It is.
And then it becomes a little blue girl,
So,
and her name is Seal.
Scadrial is so, like I said before, it's the Earth analog, right? In every way, like, Scadrial's gravity is very close to Earth. The makeup of it is very close to Earth. And, like, just kind of the way the planet is very close to Earth, other than the whole ash raining from the sky thing. But you'll find out why that's a problem. So, yeah, I mean, when you get off of Scadrial, there is a vast, like, kind of difference in the planets. Like, everything from Nalthus, which is pretty close to Earth, all the way to, say, Tress, where there are 11 moons that rain spores onto the planet constantly, to the point that they make up the planet's oceans.
Which are activated by water. So should you get one of these spores on you,
Or in your eye.
Oh.
It is.
Shit can happen to you.
Yeah, if you get one of these in your mouth, you're dead. Like, it's gonna explode and grow out your eyeballs and your ear and.
But it's very whimsical.
It is very whimsical.
I love Tress.
So the moons, they all jizz deadly spores.
Correct, yes.
Enough to form oceans.
Yeah, that's a lot of jizz.
Yeah, and the oceans on this planet are made of spores, not water.
And you're gonna sail them
Yeah.
with teacups.
I think not.
I love it so much.
There are teacups.
There are teacups, yes.
Yeah.
Not filled of sporges, however.
But pretty much. Yeah, that's how.
And I think that's the place, actually. I love that book, but I do not think that I would ever want to live there because the likelihood of accidentally dying is very great.
I don't want to live there. I don't want to live on Canticle for sure. That's the planet where the sun turns the planet into lava every day.
Yeah, no.
And I don't want to live in a Lethkar either. Like, fuck that. Because, like, everybody is, like, bloodthirsty. Everybody.
That's fair.
Also, like, there's giant fucking crabs that just kill people. Like, yeah, so there's all these kind of varying worlds out there in the Cosmere, and that's, like, one of the reasons why this is such a gateway. But in terms of the Stormlight and versus Mistborn debate that we've clearly kicked off here, Mistborn is more action-adventure, whereas Stormlight is about the lore. Like, that's the plot, you know? I think that Kaladin, just in the first 4 books, he's one of the main characters in Stormlight, is, you know, I think I've gotten more of a character arc from him than I have from maybe 95% of other characters, you know? Just because there's so much of him, and you get to see him constantly evolving as a character.
I also love in Stormlight the characters have ups, they have downs, they have life outside of like this magic system happening and all this other stuff. Like they have all these internal struggles, and not just the Kaladin, but also the other characters that you have POVs with. You actually get to see how they handle that, why they're handling it the way that they are, and it's a lot more insightful, I think, than Mistborn. To me is kind of like a TV series that you really like, but, you know, let's say it's like the X-Files, you know, woo, it's like really good. I like this. It's super good. You can press the button, yeah. But then you have, this is like a 10-hour mini-series that got all the money thrown at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Stormlight is.
And it's doing a deep dive on the real aliens, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Mistborn is Daredevil and Stormlight is True Detective.
Wow.
That's like the best two comparisons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my favorite Stormlight character is a minor character, but there's so much on him just because of the length of these books that he can still be my favorite character. And he's a pretty minor character,
Who
I would
is
say.
it?
Adeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's in there.
Yeah. Dalinar is my favorite.
I know
And I think
Dalinar is
Dalinar will
your-
be your favorite too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll like Dalinar.
Yeah. He's very, very much of a
I'm
Gino
excited
type.
for you
One
to...
of the monikers that he's known by is the Blackthorn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very dramatic. Yeah.
Very
is very
dramatic.
dramatic.
He's so dramatic.
And he covers so many deep topics in that series, from depression to PTSD to anything mental health to suicide. To, like, he covers the gambit in Stormlight.
Yeah, I would agree.
But
It's
very respectfully at the same time.
yes,
Oh, okay.
absolutely. It's just
And this is where I will kind of give a bit of a warning. Like, if you only read Mistborn, you might want to GTFO right
Yeah,
now.
guys. If that's all
Yeah.
if that's all you know, then
then read Stormlight
Yeah.
too, guys.
Yeah, really, thank you for coming to the review.
get
but,
with it.
So,
I'm excited for you to get to Stormlight because I really hope. It makes me sad that Oz stopped reading it.
I think
I'm gonna give him another push. I'm
Yeah.
gonna drop some stuff that Wit does and see what happens. I think
So-
Wit will probably be his way in.
what got Oz to read any of this shit in the first place is Kaye's reading The Lost Metal, and she finishes it and is just sobbing uncontrollably for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
I was
Oz is
crying.
like, I want to know, I want to read this thing.
Why are you so sad? What happened? lets me join you in this torture.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Lost Metal. It was a incredible read for me. One of my favorites in the Cosmere.
Yeah,
But I want to know.
My legs are so long. I'm sorry.
I want to know what you what is going on right now in Well of Ascension, where you're at.
Yeah. So, your favorite character was a shit king, so he ain't king no more.
He was never meant to be king. He had other purposes.
Well, what an excuse?
Oh, how honest.
I know.
We were talking about Dragon Con cosplays, and Oz was like, I could do Elend, and I was like, you have to do the white though. You can't do any other. You have to do the all white fucking.
And he needs Twindle. That's her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs a Twindle
That's
to go around
true.
and scold him every time he pops up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, well, the last thing I believe that happened was, oh man, I forgot his name. He went to go visit his old pal who was has the army of Kolosk. What was his name?
You mean Ellen's dad, Straff?
No.
Oh, the other guy.
Yeah.
The other.
Not Strav. It wasn't set.
Yeah, but there's the other like noble dude who has the Colossus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those two were buds, right? They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, surprisingly, Ellen just tried to talk some sense into him, and then he stabs him, as you do. And then, like a fucking bank heist movie gone wrong, he's walking out, the knife to the guy's throat, and he's like, "Fuck away!" And then he runs off into the Kolok side of the army, and then so all the guards stop because they don't want that smoke. I think that's the last major thing that's happened in my reading so far. So
you're really trucking through it then.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are. Did you start it like right after?
I think no. I started. I want to say about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Zane was an interesting addition to the cast.
Yeah. I got mixed feelings about Zane.
Yeah. I don't. Fucking.
You know what he reminds me of, and Kayla, you may be the only one who gets this reference. He reminds me of, what was his name? Kai Lang. He was in Mass Effect 3.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
That's a really deep cut.
Me and Kaye are just like...
This is like a super minor Mass Effect character.
But he's presented, though, as, he's this big, bad assassin. And, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like, the universe is about to fucking implode, so he's very much, like, a nuisance instead of being, like, a big bad main threat here.
Yeah.
But not in terms of importance, but in terms of, like, what they're meant to do. Zane very much reminds me of that. Like, I get the character. He's an intriguing character. There's just not a whole lot going on with him for me to be super invested in. It's more like me wondering. This is really just me more wondering. I wonder how Van's gonna kill you, and then how long is it gonna take her to get over feeling bad about it.
It's interesting, right? Because it starts in where you get this overwhelming kind of sense of dread building, that all the shit going on with the kingdom and these armies and everything is all a huge fucking like distraction from whatever the Lord Ruler was talking about at the end of the first book, right? Like,
yeah.
And like as goes on, you're just kind of like, we don't really have time to be fucking around with all of this. And Zane is kind of like in that kind of situation. So, there are some really fucking good twists and turns though towards the end of that book. So, I have a question for you. There's a part in the book where Sazed and Marsh visit a place and they get a rubbing.
Yeah.
Of like this like inscription. You already got to that?
Yeah, from Quan. Yeah.
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 Yeah, okay. And they have a fight there. Yeah? Is that where that happens? Pretty sure it's when they're leaving there.
Yeah, oh, you don't mean like a physical fight, you mean like like an argument?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it tries to turn physical.
Yeah.
And Sazed leaves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I think he's already transcribed it where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some interesting stuff. Yeah.
And yeah, because the epigraphs in that one I think are Quan.
Yeah, it's Quan.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and apparently Quan's nephew is Rashik, who he sends. And I was like, wait a minute. All right, they're still. I'm missing some shit here because, like, why you send him? Well, this is what I call a dummy mission. You know, when you send somebody to go do some crazy shit.
Well, it worked out.
Yeah, but it worked though. Yeah. So it's not really a dummy mission.
Yeah, it worked out. Well, I'm very interested to see how you feel about the end of the book. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it because I struggled to get through sections of I did not. It's my least favorite Cosmere book. So if you're loving it, man, then stick it out because there's some amazing shit that's gonna come. And I agree. Like I don't think you're gonna have a hard time getting into Stormlight. They are big old thick chunky boys, but
looking around, you're not scared of a big old thick chunky boy.
Yeah, the storyline and the character growth though I think is gonna hook you because it's some of the best character growth, just like character development of that I've ever seen anywhere.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So in terms of like the Final Empire, or I guess more specifically in terms of Kelsier, like there's like only one hang up with that character, and it's not even a hang up with the character. It's a hang up with me, more specifically because with Sanderson being a Mormon, with me being an ex-Mormon, I just look at things differently. It's like that shit is still in there, but it's not prominent. Anyways, like I look at Kelsier and like his journey, and I'm like, man, this really at times reads like a romanticized version of like Joseph Smith. And I'm like, charismatic guy. Technically, he's martyred. Starts a cult. Like
there's definitely some like aspects of that, and like you're not the first person to point that out.
Oh,
clearly,
okay.
But it definitely is not done in a like propaganda type way.
No, it's not. It's not.
You know.
Yeah.
He definitely isn't trying to like sell you on it.
I actually had a really good conversation last night with my best friend Cheyenne. I was celebrating her birthday with her, and we were talking about what makes Mormons such fantastic fantasy writers. And it's got to really at the core do with the fantastical nature of the religion itself.
Yeah, the magic underwear and all that.
Right. So that's what, like, you've got Stephanie Meyer, Brandon Sanderson. Like, you could laundry list
what are we listing right now?
Just writers that are Mormon.
Just published authors, I see.
Writers who are Mormon who write fantasy or romantasy or whatever.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we know how you feel about Stephanie.
It's not how I feel. Like, I'm very confident that AI writes better than Stephanie Meyer.
Like Chat GPT 1?
Yeah, Stephanie Meyer inspired me to write because if she can do it, then fuck. I mean, it's like a best-selling author.
Oh, shit.
When was the last time you wrote, by the way?
I meant to ask you that the other freaking day.
For the book, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I know. That was a little poke at you.
Well, what it is that I'm doing world building for my D&D campaign now, and that is.
So what you're saying is it's Ace's fault.
Yeah, it's Ace's fault. I'll blame it on Ace. I'm just saying that my creativity is being driven in that. Like that creative outlet for me is being fulfilled by that right now. So,
So the book is on pause.
Yeah.
Oh, while we're also like on the topic of Caleb things, we should also like tell everybody what the name of your cat is.
Oh yeah, my cat's name is Kelsey. Yeah. And then people read
He's
this.
still alive. Don't worry.
Yeah, people read this book and they're like, "This character's gonna be around." He named his fucking cat after him, and then he dies like 75% of the way through the book, and they're like, "Motherfucker!"
I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. So yes, my cat's name is Kelsier. He was going, and he very much is a Kelsier.
He's a little terrorist.
I thought about naming him Kaladin, but I'm glad I didn't because nobody really needs a depressed fucking cat. So yeah, he really is like living up to his namesake. He's definitely a Kelsier. We actually had a dog that we rehomed that was named Kaladin, and he was a sad dog. Like
he was sad, but he was really happy with the people that got him.
he was, yeah. He was just in general like just kind of a mopey dog, and I was like, yeah, see, yeah, but
Sweet little baby we found on the road.
yeah,
Oh yeah. You guys kept him for a while, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we got him healthy and everything, and then found him home.
yeah, because he was gonna die probably that day. He was like playing in the middle of a busy street when we found him.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Nope, we're taking this dog." And I was like, "All right."
And I remember how angry I was.
Oh, everybody.
Well, I just talked them into letting me tame some kittens.
Yeah, I popped in the group chat and I was like, I had nothing to do with this. Boop, and that's it.
I don't mean to do it, but like
No,
I'm
the
sorry.
same way.
I would like they put a trap out for these little baby kittens, and I'm gonna tame them because the shelter won't take them unless they don't attack. And so I'm gonna tame them so that they can find homes.
I'm the same way. I can't turn away from an animal. Breaks my heart.
Oh, there's a guy on my route who just found 10 kittens. He said he's looking for a home. I can deliver them to you.
Unfortunately, I have a hound dog who despises small things.
What you want to do with the kittens is your priority.
No. So we are currently like housing a stray cat in our garage because he can't come into my house. Like my dog, when I tell you, he has taken to leaping my entire couch.
Oh.
Because he can hear this kitten. It's driving him a little kooky. I'm going to get him on some medication. Because he's starting to like twitch and look at the walls funny. But he was a feral hound dog in Thompson.
Yeah.
And we rescued him because his owners weren't taking good care of him. They were just pretty much letting him hunt for his food. But it's been hard to bring him of that. So he kills rabbits and birds and squirrels in my yard. And I'm constantly having to get Baron to deal with that. I'm just not 1,000% sure he can decide for a cat from a squirrel. So like he's very interested in this cat that lives in the garage, enough so that he now can leap the couch anytime somebody goes in and out the garage door because he wants to get to where the kitten is. So I'm just not trusting him enough to bring a cat in the house. That's the long story short. I don't know. Can he tell his species?
Yeah.
I don't want to find out.
Don't want to
It's
find out.
small and furry.
Right. So to him, it's lunch.
Well, I think we've said everything there is to say here. I really enjoyed having my yearly Cosmere nerd out here on the show. Seems like it may not be yearly this year because I feel like you're going to finish well pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have another talk. So I guess we need to figure out what we're gonna read.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
But also, like, the next one, right? You guys didn't want to review Wells by itself, right?
No, I think we should do 2 and 3 together, don't you? Or no?
I'm okay with it either way. I would say that they are very much a part 1 and part 2, so it'd be a long episode, but I think doing them together would be cool. Because here's the thing: is like if you finish the third one, we can say a lot, a lot,
Yeah.
way more than we can say right now.
And I
Because
just
the
don't
third
know
one-
that enough happens in 2 to do a whole episode.
Yeah, the third one is where you get the title screen. So you're like, oh wait, this is the game. This is the intro. Yeah, okay. You're like, because I mean, really, the third one is where you kind of get this kind of gateway that opens you up to the wider Cosmere, and you kind of get to really see you get to see the scale of it all.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably ideal. It'd be to do the second and third one together because they're a nice little package. So, but But yeah, we should do that. Now, as far as like graphic novels for them,
I've thought about this for a bit about what's something that I haven't reviewed that I think you guys would enjoy, and so as much as you and I thoroughly enjoy Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's gritty writing style, it may not necessarily be for everyone.
these two are, I mean, they'd like it, but
Yeah.
Frank Miller is gritty as fuck.
Yeah.
Do you have anything with fairies?
Oh, what is it?
You know,
No, I'm
it's
just kidding.
funny that you asked. Saga was the book I settled upon.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Is that a teat?
That is a teat.
A breastfeeding alien?
Okay. So it's looking space operatic.
I'm very disappointed that you didn't settle on Invincibles Volume 1 through 9 or whatever.
All 12 volumes of Invincible.
Yeah.
144 issues.
Yeah.
Okay. It's colorful. I like it.
I was really
Yeah,
hoping
I
you were
can
going to go with
definitely read
Doomsday
this.
Clock.
That's more of a me and you type thing.
Is it like a standalone or is it a gateway?
There are currently 2 more books.
Okay.
But Saga, it's I'll put it this way, long story short, I got Saga and I got 2 other books at the same time because I wanted to break away from Marvel and DC. I was getting burned out. So I got Saga, I got a book called Black Hammer, which is one of my favorite books. And I got Invincible, Volume 1. And I loved Black Hammer right out of the gate. It became one of my favorite graphic novels. And then I read Invincible, and I loved it.
Which was in the Shield.
Yeah, it was
Fucking
in the
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started listening to last night's podcast on the way over.
You can probably Google that and find it. It was crazy. But the third book I got out of the 3 was obviously Saga, and this was the one I was apprehensive about. Everyone online was raving about it. I think it had won some awards at that point, and people were clamoring for like the next entry into the saga. But
That was good.
It was very clever.
But I read it, and to my surprise, I loved it, and I did not think I would. So yeah.
My next question to you, is
Yes.
this going to be easy to find? Like, can we just get it on Amazon or whatever?
Yeah, it's very accessible.
Okay.
Okay. Fantastic.
As a matter of fact, if anyone wants to borrow that one, there it is.
I mean, if I'm going to read it and review it, I'm going to want my own. So
okay.
I'm going to probably buy that exact copy, yeah.
I'll
it's-
probably get it on Kindle.
Yeah.
Is graphic novels easy to read on Kindle?
Well, you can
You can do panel by panel, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
cool because you don't have to figure out.
Would
There's
it
some
be okay for me to borrow this?
Yeah.
there's some graphic novels where you're not quite sure what the order of the fucking panels is, and I hate that shit. And that's where the Kindle Unlimited thing is very useful.
I would say read it. If you're going to read graphic novels on Kindle, don't do it actually on a Kindle unless you have one of the ones that's full color.
Okay.
I use my phone whenever I read graphic novels because I like the color aspect.
Yeah, I think for graphic novels, I would prefer a physical copy.
I'm
Just me
gonna get that
personally.
copy, and that way when I read it in bed and drop it on my face, I can go to the ER.
There you go. And just in case you don't like it on your Kindle, you can read his copy as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll probably finish it way before he does.
Hey, I gave you that copy of White Sand forever ago.
Yeah,
It's just-
I'm not connecting with it for some reason. I'm gonna try again. I put it in timeout. I'm gonna go back.
Try
to it.
try.
It's really good.
It is.
Kins is awesome. Yeah.
Also started reading Sandman around the same time, and I guess I could only handle one
One
sand
sand.
related thing
Yeah,
at a time.
that's fair.
we were actually talking about last night that Dylan could do a Kenton cosplay and just run around and be like pocket sand.
Pocket sand. Yeah.
I'm not getting the reference.
Well,
It's a Sandman thing?
In White Sand, it's a White Sand thing. In White Sand, the magic system is based on sand.
Sand?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
they are
sense
sand
then.
masters, sand benders.
Got it.
Basically,
Like
yeah.
20% in or so, like not that far.
Yeah, it really picks up though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually little microorganisms that live on the sand, and they're invested. And
Mistborn.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this fucking awesome review of Mistborn. Thank you all for joining us for this. And I very much look forward to reviewing Saga with everyone. And also parts 2 and 3 of Mistborn being Well of Ascension and the Hero of Ages. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I am superhero homie Caleb.
I am superhero homie Q.
I am now superhero homie Loren.
I'm superhero homie Kaye.
Woo!
See you guys next time.
I can't press the button.